Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
It's a blessing to be in this position, and we're just thankful to be here. We're thankful for the opportunity to go out there and play in front of the 12 man.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Look, I'm a little intense at the moment. I'm not going to get into that topic right now. But let's just say I'm baffled, upset, dismayed. What other words can I use? Offended by what I heard on Ask Liucci. But we're not going to talk about that right now. Liucci and I can talk about it in person. And Richard, too. Anywho, welcome into TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It's the Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. How you doing today on Friday, June 13th?
I'm doing very well. You know, I got in-laws visiting.
All right.
And I actually like them. So, you know, that makes for a good weekend.
Great weekend. Father's Day weekend.
Oh, yeah.
I love being a dad.
I do, too, but I haven't heard anything about it. No one's even mentioned Father's Day to me.
It's the best. Well, it's not the best because I don't even know if I'm going to get a gift, but it's and I say this and I'm not doing it to, like, it's for real. My greatest achievement in life is being a father. It's the best.
Yeah. Those that do not embrace it, that have that opportunity and don't embrace it.
I can't talk to them.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, the ones that are fathers that don't embrace it, yes.
You're missing out.
Yes. My brother from Miami's coming to visit, so he'll be in Houston this weekend. So hopefully I can avoid some of the issues on the roads and get to see my family in H-Town. But let's talk some football, shall we?
Oh, never a bad time to talk about football.
So I'm going to bring up a list because this is list season, as you know, and I don't want this to be about the list per se. We could talk about it, but I think it's a worthy conversation. Sometimes we live in a bubble of an A&M bubble. Like to me, I think A&M has got one of the 3-4 best running back rooms in the country.
Okay.
But I have to be 100% honest. I am not investigating Oregon's running back room the way I investigate A&M's. Okay.
Yeah, Penn State.
Right. Penn State, I do know. I'm a little familiar with their work. Louisville's got a great one.
Yeah. A couple of freshmen.
Notre Dame, of
course.
Unfortunately, the team 90 miles away. They got a really good one.
Do.
Right.
They do.
I believe A&M is in that mix.
Okay, I do too.
All right. And I'm going to read you CBS Sports. A&M is not on their top 5. It's okay. They're in the conversation. They're in the honorable mention. I'm not upset with them. Okay.
All right.
But I'm going to compare it with Pro Football Focus, who does have A&M in their top 5.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. And then we can just kind of discuss.
Yes.
Shall we?
We shall.
Number 1 on their list. Penn State.
Yeah.
And I get it. They got
Singleton, and then the other guy's name's
Katron Allen.
Allen. Yeah.
Singleton. Yeah, both had 1,000 yards last year. But, okay, so I get it. Right? And they went deep in the playoffs. They deserve, if not 1, 2, 3. Right? They're in that mix. Okay. Agree?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Notre Dame.
All you got to put is Jeremiah Love's in your room. That's all you need.
Yep. I agree. He is. He's fantastic. He's not the only one. Jadarian Price, pretty darn good as well.
Okay.
So they're number 2 according to CBS Sports. Number 3 on the list.
The running game has the Price and Love.
The price of love.
I wouldn't know.
That could be your headline. Oregon. Again, I'm not familiar. Okay?
Yeah, I'm not.
I'm going to tell you why, though. This is what it says. A couple weeks ago on the Cover 3 podcast, we were trying to figure out who the group of 5-star that would be the new Ashton Genty. Well, there was a name on there. His name is Mekhi Hughes from Tulane. He transferred to Oregon. So Hughes, 1,400 yards last year, 15 touchdowns, and looked impossible to tackle, it says. So you pair him up with Noah Whittington, 540 yards, and DeJuan Riggs.
Okay, see, because if Whittington at 504 yards is your leading returner, that doesn't speak to me. Now, this other guy,
1,400 yards speaks to me.
Now, here's the question.
Yep.
How's that going to translate from
in the SEC?
What are they in? American to the Big Ten.
Right.
Yeah, we'll see.
Number 4 on this list, Texas. It says it had Texas initially 3rd, but knocked them down a spot because of C.J. Baxter coming back from injury, which is, I'm assuming, why.
Wait, that knocks them down a spot?
Yes, because the unknown of C.J. Baxter.
Okay.
Okay. But obviously, they got Trey Wisner as well, who was fantastic last year. Fantastic in the A&M game. 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns. Jarrett Gibson, 377 yards and a touchdown. So I think Texas should be in the top 5. Not going to argue that as
Give
well.
credit where credit is due.
Here's one that you mentioned a moment ago.
Louisville?
¿Estás listos? Yeah, Louisville. And it talks about, I could have told you about Isaac Brown. Why would I? 3-star freshman, 5'9", 180 pounds. It didn't take long to notice him last year. Brown rushed for 1,168 yards, averaging 7 yards per clip. Duke Watson averaged 8.9, an explosive duo.
Yeah. Now, let's understand they're probably facing lesser defenses.
Sure.
But they probably have lesser offensive linemen.
Yep. Here are a couple of the honorable mentions. Georgia.
Okay.
Nate Frazier, Josh McCray, Roderick Robinson. Minnesota.
Well, they got, never mind. He passed away recently. I won't make a reference to him.
Oklahoma.
Jaden
Knott, Javante Barnes, Xavier Robinson. And then Texas A&M. Let me tell you who's in their backfield.
Well, these aren't ranked as the honorable mentions. It sounds like they're almost
alphabetical, potentially.
Yeah.
But I'm going to take it because, like Jerry Rice, everything is an insult to me.
Okay.
So I'm going to take it as they have them as the 4th option of the honorable mentions.
Maybe they're saying top 10.
Yeah, it's top 10
at the very least.
Yeah, that's fine. I think to me that it was more enlightening to find out about the Oregon situation that I wasn't really aware of. But yeah, that's a fine list. Pro Football Focus.
Okay, yeah.
You can say.
I was just going to say, if you're going to dock Texas a spot for C.J. Baxter returning from injury, I guess you could do the same for A&M since they have 2 guys that are coming back from injury, right?
Yep. Penn State Pro Football Focus has them as number 1. We've already talked about them. We agree, right?
Yeah, that's obvious.
They're going to agree with CBS Sports so far. Number 2, Notre Dame.
Okay.
Okay. And then number 3, the University of Texas, followed by Louisville.
Okay.
Followed by Texas A&M. So A&M in the top 5 for Pro Football Focus.
What they're saying is the A&M running back room projects to be elite.
Yep.
And look, A&M has an all-SEC running back, Le'Veon Moss. He was all-SEC even though he only played in 5 SEC games. Yes, he played against South Carolina, but what he played, what he have 1 carry and a reception, something like that. So, that was not really representative. He was on his way to a 1,000-yard year, and he's going to be healthy.
Look, again,
give me Ruben Owens with him.
Well, and people forget Ruben Owens, what he showed us as a freshman, and what the buzz about Ruben Owens was going into camp.
Yeah.
Last year before he got hurt. So look,
he's an explosive guy.
I don't care if they finish 30th on the list if they win games. I don't care if they finish 2nd if they're not winning games. It does not matter to me. It's about winning games. But I do think that backfield somewhere between the 4 and 8 range seems pretty fair based on some unknowns. The unknown of how Le'Veon's going to look coming back. But if he hits 80% of what he was, and Ruben Owens, I don't know, what would be, not 80% of what he was, but let's just say Ruben Owens gets to what the form was, and I think Le'Veon's going to be 100%.
Yeah, well, he told me he is.
Yeah.
No, players almost always say that. Ruben Owens, we haven't even seen 10% of Ruben Owens.
We have not.
Ruben Owens can be. I mean,
and we know what Amari Daniels is.
If Amari Daniels is your 3rd option, that's all you need to know.
He had 590 yards, I think it was, 2 years ago, 650 or 660 this past year.
Had a 60-yard touchdown run against the nation's 16th ranked defense last year, South Carolina.
Right. So, and EJ and the couple freshmen, like there's some dudes on that team. So, I am not worried about where their running back room. And then I'll throw in the other thing, the offensive line.
Yes.
Now,
You got an experienced, proven offensive line to run behind. If you could just get a passing game that will make the safeties kind of have to, play back a little bit, that just opens up even more room.
And look, I don't know. On Ask Liucci, he was talking about where he thinks the wide receiver group, or somebody asked him, is, and he said maybe middle of the pack, with a loaded middle of the pack of the wide receivers in the SEC. And potentially so. But I think the difference this year is I think we'll see separation from receivers. We didn't get enough of that last year, and I wonder what that does for Marcel.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, it's, easier to throw to a guy that,
Yeah.
If you only have to get the guy with the ball within a foot of him because he's that open, then, yeah, that makes it easier for the quarterback without a doubt. Sometimes we overcomplicate football.
Let's address now the anger.
Okay.
You know about what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. He's
I think
mad.
Luke
He's
might
mad.
know too. So on Ask Liucci, somebody asked who would, Liucci pick. I forget how the question was phrased on sports in the Big Three. And Liucci went totally.
From TexAgs.
From TexAgs, sorry. Totally went, I'm going to just do low-hanging fruit, easy. I'm going to pick former athletes. If it's soccer, I'm taking Allie and Katie.
They don't work here anymore.
No, but
Billy.
they're TexAgs fan. Okay, and by the way, I'd choose them as well. If it's baseball, I guess I'm taking Bronny. And what did he say? Did he say Logan for basketball? Maybe. I don't know.
Of course. I mean, again.
And then Richard says, I noticed you didn't say somebody, the one guy who's going to be offended. Yeah, it's me. I know you were talking about me. I'm offended.
Maybe boxing.
I don't even know if I'm that good of a boxer, but I'd like to find out.
Yeah. Who are you going to find out against?
Anybody.
Nuño. Hey, he's calling you out, Billy.
No, I'm not going to box Liucci.
No, I'm not calling him out at all, man.
Oh.
I'm saying that, like, in one-on-ones and stuff, Nuño's got me for sure. But, like, could you hang with D1 athletes? I think you probably could because you're so fit. But, like, I think they'd eventually pass you up.
Who at TexAgs can?
Yeah. Nobody wants to play the game of the D1 athletes.
Did you watch the Ask Liucci long enough to see Luke dive on the floor for rebounds?
I saw that.
Like loose balls?
I saw that.
Like, Nuño, you got him, man. I'm more convinced now than ever that the one-on-one Nuño versus Luke matchup is going to end in an 11-0 Nuño rout. Like, it's going to be an absolute
20 years ago
disaster for Evangelist.
Here's the truth.
Sorry, buddy.
I think OB, you could put him at first base in baseball. He'd be really. See, I'm more of a defender of the people who work here. Well, OB as a hacker on a basketball team, nobody can foul like him.
Well, you watched Moneyball, right? Like, tell him how hard it is to play first base, Wash. It's incredibly difficult. So, like, Olin, I love you, but, like, no, you're not going to play a good first base.
When I played baseball, I played first base.
Yeah, but how long ago was that?
See,
I'm 63. That was probably 50 years ago. Last time I played baseball. Jeez. Well, I played softball, but I was always
What was
pitcher.
the price of gas back then?
50 cents.
Wow.
He's a good rapper.
Wow. Take you to the camp.
It was a good price for gas, too.
Anyway, I'm offended because I think if we did a TexAgs Olympics, OB would do in the top 3.
Top
maybe
3?
not.
You're in the top 3. I'll give you that.
1,000%.
But Olin probably not.
Well, I would like to get offended by that, but, you have to acknowledge that
Father Time?
That Father Time wins. I'm 63. Yesterday I hurt my back in the shower trying to wash my back. I mean, when things like that happen, you just got to.
Let's move on. Enough Olin in the shower talk.
You just got to acknowledge that your time has passed.
The lathering Buchanan.
You're the one that's all lathered up today,
bro. I'm always lathered. It's TexAgs Live. That's a good laugh. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations currently. Where are we, OB?
We are in right here or the whole?
No, right here.
We're in the cool zone. The holistic planning cool zone.
I love being cool, and I love being in the holistic planning cool zone.
It's been warm in the cool zone, because
we got a little angry.
So hot-tempered.
Yeah, a little.
Need to cool him off in the cool zone.
Yeah, I was listening to Ask Liucci on my 12-mile run this morning. I didn't really run 12 miles.
Yeah,
it was like 3. All right.
Did you run 3 miles?
I did.
Okay,
that's how I roll. Anyway, and now it's gonna be 5 because people doubt me. Anyway, if you want to be a part of the conversation, call us up on the Buffy's Catering Hotline 979-693-1150. Let's go behind the glass to Luke Evangelist, who did dive on a floor that would have broken most people's body. He's still alive. Luke, good morning.
He was diving for loose balls.
See, there's that OBism again. Is he's trying to play it off as an innocent comment? We just saw you look at David and smile. All right, look, I'm not having any of this. I've got the video of me diving on the floor if we want to watch it. And sorry if I'm exposing 10 seconds of premium content here, but you just have to see this.
Do an Andy Garcia.
Yeah, come on, Garcia.
All right. That's fine. That's all.
If there was a loose ball there, it would have gone out of bounds. He wouldn't have gotten that.
Yeah.
We've got the slow-mo. We've got the slow-mo version.
Oh my
it just
God!
keeps
There's
getting slower.
gyrations going on there.
Slow motion.
What the?
You put Luke in slow motion, he's going to go backwards.
Look at it. Oh man, have you ever done a burpee?
Yeah, I could do one right now, but just imagine.
I can burp anytime you want me to.
I'm diving
You're
for
at
any
that
loose
age.
ball. I'm ready for
I'm not gonna do
whatever
it, but
Bucky asks of me.
Hey, at what age?
like stay away from us.
At what age do certain people
What was
start
it?
burping uncontrollably? It's coming, right?
I don't know, but ever since I was a kid, if I wanted to burp, I could make myself burp. It used to make my mother so angry.
Luke, anything of value you want to provide the show today?
Actually, I do have
That hat?
something of value. Yeah, so no free promo again on TexAgs, but Billy said we have to wear these hats. So I have not taken this off, actually, since I got it at about 5 p.m.
He was
yesterday.
like Judge Reingold when he was working for the seafood restaurant in Fast Times.
Fast Times. Judge Reinhold. Familiar with his game?
Nope, but I am familiar with this person's game. How about Braden Montgomery?
Walk-off!
Walk-off home run yesterday. Just check out this video. Just absolutely crushes it. That's his 6th home run with the Winston-Salem Dash, and he's going to get a pretty nice Gatorade bath here at the end of this.
I love following his mom on Twitter.
Yeah.
Because, she's very active, and every time he does something great, or the Aggies does something great, she's
one of the first to talk about it, yeah.
And she's always, she doesn't like Schlossnagle either.
No.
So, yeah. I've already forgotten her name.
Gretchen.
Gretchen. Yeah, Gretchen. Good job.
All right. Let's go to the angry. Good job, Luke, by the way. Let's go to the angry elephant. News and Social Center. Reese Nygren classing up the joint. Reese, what do you have for us?
So speaking of former baseball players doing well in the minor leagues, Evan Oschenbeck is being converted by the South Bend Cubs to a starter. And last night he went 7 innings of 1-hit baseball with 1 walk and 5 strikeouts in 7 games and 5 starts for the South Bend Cubs, who are the High A affiliate of the Chicago Cubs. Oschenbeck is 2-3 in 44 2/3 innings with 45 hits, a 3.22 ERA, and a 1.23 WHIP.
All right, I'm going to say something. Hot sports take. Richard's back there. He can confirm or deny. If the NCAA would have granted Evan Oschenbeck another season like they've done for others.
Well, they did. They just didn't do it
for him.
It's too late.
Well, yeah. If they would have done it, okay? I say A&M is hosting a regional this year. Everything the same except you have Evan Oschenbeck healthy for the whole year.
Maybe, without a doubt, they're in the playoff because how many games did they lose late?
I think they are hosting a regional this year. Richard, do you agree? Thumbs up? He's not listening.
Richard's saying no, but actually, hold on this topic of baseball and talking about TexAgs people going up against each other, I've actually got clips of Cade Bickham striking out Richard Zane. Sit down, kid. Wait, hold on. Do we want to see that again? Richard Zane strikes out swinging.
I see Richard Zane as being like a slap hitter, no power.
Cade would strike me out for sure. No shame in that. Cade, all-region club baseball. Shout out to Cade Bickham, absolute stud. ERA sub .5. Olin Buchanan. That's a half a run in 9 innings. Look at that. Look at those numbers. Like, there's no shame in saying that Cade Bickham would strike me out. Like, over a strikeout in an inning, amazing.
He's kind of like Clark Kent in the fact that when you see him at work with the glasses on, you don't think much about him. And then you see him dressed up as an athlete. He's like, he looks like a freaking athlete.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
That's the guy Lucci
like
should
he
have been
doesn't have
talking
the
about.
glasses on. I'm like, who is that?
Right.
Maybe that's the guy Lucci should have been talking about. How about you, Reese? Were you an athlete?
I was.
What'd you play?
Basketball.
Oh.
Okay, let's go hoop.
Yeah. And
I'll play.
We spent 9 minutes talking about TexAgs sports. I'm sorry. Let's move on. in the other half, I don't even know what we're going to talk about in the next segment. I'm sure it's going to be very good. We're going to bank on something, and we're going to answer a Twitter question. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was a question that I wrestled with. Do we talk about it? We're going to talk about it.
Let's talk.
It's the off season. My voice cracked.
His voice cracked.
You know what helps your voice cracking?
What?
Meat.
Meat. You know, I love meat.
I know you do.
I love it.
It's
I love
delicious.
It. 1775.
Oh, it's so delicious there. The way they marinate.
Oh, the marination, the dry rub, the long, tenuous probably the wrong word, the long process, loving process of smoking that brisket into something succulent and wonderful.
Freaking Father's Day at 1775. Maybe not on Sunday, but the day before.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You could buy it on Saturday, and it's still great on Sunday.
Oh, it's fantastic. In fact, you should do that. You should go Saturday or even today for lunch. Get the sampler. Maybe get 2 samplers. 'Cause you got a big family, right? I'm making a mythical family. They got cousins that are coming in town. They got everybody. Get a couple of samplers. Eat one sampler at the store. Then bam, Saturday or Sunday or both. You keep it going. It's the 1775 trifecta.
I like the way you're thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. You hear that?
It's a Festivus for the rest of us. It's 1775 TXBBQ.com, 979-492-6241. Go do 1775. I think we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. The Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Just a moment ago, Richard yelled out, "Take your pants off the table, Olin."
So I did.
Olin, so we usually wear pants in the Holistic Planning Cool Zone.
We do. And I bring up a pair of jeans. I keep a pair of jeans here because I like to wear shorts at work.
Yeah.
And I forgot to put the jeans on.
So apologies. We try to keep it classy here.
Yeah, if anybody was apologized by the sight of my incredibly white, thin legs, you have my apologies.
OB, let's bank on it. Can we do that, please?
Yeah.
Let's bank on it. Brought to you by Vera Bank. All right, what are you banking on?
I'm banking on me not forgetting to put on my pants
next time.
But how about, I saw I'm banking on the track team continuing to have success at the championships. I imagine Reese is going to tell us more about that later, so I'll just leave it there.
Do you have some updates for us, Reese? I do have some updates. I would love for your mic to be on.
Is it?
There we go.
There we go. The women's track team has 3 individuals and 2 relays advancing to the finals. Jaya Covington advances in the 100-meter hurdles with a time of 12.97, which was good for second in her heat. Deborah Chirono advances in the 3,000-meter steeplechase with a time of 9 minutes and 36.95 seconds, which was good for third in her heat. Jasmine Montgomery advances in the 200-meter dash with a time of 22.36, which was first in her heat. And the 4x1 relay team of Jasmine Harmon, Cameron Dixon, Bria Bullard, and Jasmine Montgomery advanced with a time of 42.92, which was second in their heat. And finally, the 4x4 relay team of Kennedy Wade, Cameron Dixon, Jasmine Montgomery, and Jaden Wood advanced with a time of 3 minutes and 29 seconds, which was good for second in their heat.
Nice job, Nygren. Luke, I know you've been following this. So in the grand scheme of things, how are things looking for a potential national championship? I know we still got to see what happens today before Saturday gets. It's the end of it is Saturday, correct?
Well, today is when the men are going. This is when the men will find out if they're going to win a national championship. They already had Solovev win his individual pole vault event, which was 10 points for them. But now it's all the track events. So the 100-meter, you've got the 4x1, the 4x4. If you want to go on Twitter and look at that video of Ahmad Robinson, I don't know if we talked about it on Wednesday when it happened, but his comeback in the 4x4 was just absolutely unbelievable. A&M was in 7th place, and he came back. You're going to need every single point if you want to contend for a national championship, and what Ahmad did to get them in the final for the 4x4 was huge. And right now it looks like the men have a little bit of a better chance because they've got a couple more qualifiers in the finals than the women, but today you will know who's going to be the men's national championship for teams, and all the individuals will be crowned as well, and then the women will be decided tomorrow.
Do they have, I don't know if Vegas or anybody has percentages, like who are the likely candidates, Luke, if you have that, of how it could play out? Because obviously the men have enough guys in there that if things play out correctly, they could, but if you can just kind of give us a gauge of that.
Yeah, so the men, it's really A&M, Arkansas, and USC. USC dominates a lot of the track events, and so you're going to see them with 2 and 3 sprinters in a lot of these final heats. So right now it's probably USC's to lose, and then on the women's side, Arkansas has just been dominant. They had like 5 people make, I want to say that was the 400-meter semifinal. So like Arkansas is just incredible. So it's going to be an uphill battle for A&M to contend with Arkansas. But coming into the event, A&M was ranked 2nd in men's and women's, so right behind USC and Arkansas, respectively. So they've got a chance. If things can break their way and they can win a couple of these events that USC or Arkansas doesn't place well in, there's certainly still a chance.
All right, let's hit a break here. When we come back, we're going to go to that Twitter question from Aaron, and we'll just break it down. Right now, though, the difference is real with Rollo Insurance. OB, yesterday, one of my boys got his license.
Oh,
the other one's going to get it hopefully today. And when we're at DPS, we met Gina, and she was awesome. Her husband, David, watches the show all the time. But in there, they're like, I've heard you talking about, like, getting your kid's license. And it took me a while because, we got a bill to pay when you get them on insurance. And luckily, Rollo took care of us. We got ourselves, I think, a little better than I was expecting. So I was happy about that. Rollo Insurance can take care of you, whatever your situation is. When you're looking to get insurance for your kids, or you just need a different option, you want to increase your coverage, it's home, auto, farm, you name it, Rollo Insurance will take care of you. 60 great offices in the state of Texas, but their headquarters is on Highway 6 right here in College Station. Call them up, 888-44-ROLLO. That is 888-44-ROLLO. Or go to rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs, rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Liucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Liucci sent you by.
And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour, presented by the warehouse at CC Creations. Obi, we got a Twitter question that you were asked and I was asked. Okay,
right.
and I didn't know if I wanted to go down that path, but I'm like, you know what? Off season, let's go down the path.
Let's
All right?
go.
So let's post it. It's from Aaron on Twitter. Mr. Ward, I hope I'm not doxing you. Looking back at A&M's win and loss records, I noticed that 9 of the 13 losses were decided by a touchdown or less. Only 1 of the 12 wins was by less than a touchdown. Do you think that Jimbo would still be the coach at A&M if he had flipped 4 of those 9 losses? Let's discuss. Because in 22, I think 4 is a lot. Yes, absolutely. Like if they go 7-5 and 9-4 those 2 years, yeah, Jimbo's still the. I think you'd have to see which games they won and which ones they lost. I think that plays a part in this conversation. But I don't know if Jimbo gets fired if they lose that Ole Miss game in 2023.
Yeah, I don't think so. What if they'd beaten Ole Miss in 2021 and LSU in 2021? Then they're good chance they're playing for the SEC championship.
When we're saying the what-if scenario, that was the 21 season.
Yeah,
21 season. That's a what-if scenario, but those were very the LSU game, you got robbed. You should have been able to make a defensive play at the end. Yes, I agree. Max Johnson shouldn't be a Hall of Famer on that series. You got to him, Michael Clemens got to him back-to-back times. It was a 3rd and long.
They had a 4th and long.
And they got the first down, right? And then they scored 2 plays later.
30 seconds.
So, but they also, Damani did rip the ball away on the kickoff, on the punt, excuse me. And it should have been game over right there. Should have. Okay, but it didn't happen.
Officiating.
I wish you could have made a defensive play, one more defensive play, because Clemens did as much as he could, but you didn't. But that's 21. Okay, so 21 you finish 8-4, no bowl game because of COVID, yada, yada, yada. The next year you go 5-7. To me, 5-7 in the SEC should get you fired.
Losing to Appalachian State
should get you fired, right?
Yeah.
But let's say you win one more game that year. 6-6, you're still on the hot seat that next year. You win one more game the year you go 7-5 at 8-4. You're probably in the conversation.
Yeah, because you're not paying a guy at that point $9 million a year to go 8-4.
No, you're not.
$9 million a year to go 8-4.
No. Now remember,
but you had to pay him for 10 years, so maybe 8-4 you do keep him around because of how much you got to pay.
But
stupid contract.
But let's just say they won the App State game. Then the staying of that seat, it still sucks. 6-6 is as bad as it gets. Okay, no, 5-7 is worse, and it could have been 4-8. It could have been, but you beat LSU, right? And you messed them up going into
pissed in their Cheerios.
You did, which
said Jalen Preston.
Which I don't like that in my Cheerios personally.
I don't either.
Moving.
I don't even like Cheerios, but especially with
if you beat Ole Miss,
urine in them.
In 23, and then you beat Mississippi State by the 40 that you did, right? We're talking about an 8-4 season that you're looking at Jimbo's contract and you're like, I don't know if you can go there. The problem with the Ole Miss game was you were getting your butt kicked, you came back,
had the lead.
You had the lead, and it just felt like here we go again.
And then you get back with a chance to maybe force overtime, and you get, I think, the 4th field goal block of the year.
Yep.
Man, specialty. I think a symptom of bad coaching is poor special teams.
I'm gonna give you another game that they could have had.
Okay, a lot of them.
Okay, another one that they could have had, and to me, this was
Alabama.
That's the one I was going with. To me, it was coaching malpractice the last play to not use Devon A-Chain.
Not even as a decoy.
Right, and I didn't even like the play.
The play was terrible.
The play call. If it would have worked, I would have loved it. But it didn't work, so I don't love it. Sorry, that's how I roll. When it works, great. You know, in basketball, when you see, like I used to do this with James Harden, sometimes with the Aggies, where somebody would take a terrible three, like, don't take that. Oh, what a shot. Let's go. Like sometimes Wade, who was capable of doing it, would take a shot, like, don't take that. Oh, beautiful shot, Wade. Good job. So when it works, I'm for it. When it doesn't, I'm not. And that was a game where Haynes King, that was Haynes King game, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Haynes King played really well.
He played hard that game.
Even Evan Stewart.
No, Evan Stewart was spectacular. Evan made Haynes look better than he was.
Right, especially on that final drive.
Remember Haynes with the huge interception just before the half.
Yeah.
I'm like, just don't throw an interception. And then he throws an interception, and they score.
I didn't even think you said don't pass here, just run.
Just get out of here. Feel good about what you got. But that game. Here's what was so many things I was frustrated with. Remember, Jimbo's sitting there trying to figure out what play he's going to call, and if somebody else was calling the plays and he was being a head coach, he would have noticed that the clock, they ran 3 seconds off after the interception that was called back.
Yep.
And if he would have raised hell with that, he could have gotten 3 seconds put back on the clock, and you could have run 2 plays instead of 1.
The Tennessee game, okay? How many opportunities did you have?
Run a freaking quarterback sneak with a 6'4", 220-pound quarterback. Run a freaking quarterback sneak. When they had a 4th and 1 at like the Tennessee 20. You know what, that game really turned when Edgerrin Cooper got hurt.
That's true.
Tennessee couldn't do anything with him. I think they hadn't scored. Maybe they've had a field goal, and Edgerrin Cooper got hurt just for the half. And,
And then Walter Nolan got shot.
Walter Nolan, I hope for his sake, I hope he figures out that you got to play hard all the time when he's in the NFL.
Another game which did get out of hand, but I think was a lot closer than the score, was the Miami game in Miami.
Yeah. That was that game was so frustrating in so many ways. You could have
blown them out. You were up, 14-0 with a chance to make it 17-21?
And,
maybe it was 10-0.
I'll never, the whole Evan Stewart
You were
deal,
up 10-0. That's what it was.
Because you had to kick a field goal.
Yep.
When Evan Stewart had a first down and he's trying to dance and says, just go get the first down.
Yep.
And then I think they had did they not have a first or a 4th and goal on the 1 and they're going for it? And somebody jumped.
Yep.
And so they ended up having to kick a field goal.
That's right.
And then, of course, there's the bad luck with, you had the fumble. You were going for it on 3rd and 1, I think it was, at the
That's right.
Miami.
It was one of our good.
It was Amari.
Yeah.
And then Anias is wide open going across the middle, and he slips.
Yep.
And that turns into an and you give up a kickoff return for
kickoff.
That was just a.
And then another game
failure.
where quarterbacks that I thought were horrible got great numbers against A&M. Peyton Thorne's the one I always laugh about because I destroyed him going into that game. Tyler Van Dyke threw for 5 touchdowns.
Well, you had freshman corners, remember?
Mm-hmm.
And so their idea is, hey, this is DJ Smirkin's idea. Let's only rush 3 and leave our freshman corners out there to have to cover longer.
Xavier Restrepo had 6 catches, 126 yards. By the way, Evan Stewart in that game, even though we give him a hard time for those plays, which he deserved, he had a hell of a stat line.
Yeah, he did.
11 catches, 142 yards.
But you know what? Be physical. And it's a physical game. And when you got a chance to get your team a first down and maybe a touchdown, you take it. You don't dance around because you're afraid to get hit.
So the question was...
And now he's out for the year this year.
The question was, if you could flip 2 of those games each season, 1,000%
Yes.
Jimbo's not fired. I think one, you can make an argument that he would have been kept in each season.
Yeah. Well, again, if they beat, like you said, if they beat Ole Miss, Ross Bjork said himself, he came back after the Ole Miss game, he's sitting there, and he says, yeah, we're in the 55 lane or something, and somebody's going 55, you can't get around them. What are we going to do to get out of this? And it was the Ole Miss game. So to your point, had they beaten Ole Miss, a game that was infinitely winnable, remember they threw an interception on 1st and goal.
Yep.
In the end zone, it's infinitely winnable, and you didn't win. And I think that was very much after 2020. After 2020, that was a recurring theme for A&M. Very, very winnable games that you lost, and then you always say, "Well, good teams find a way to win the close games.
Yep.
Bad teams find a way to lose them." And A&M had become a bad team, and I still take it back to Jimbo getting really comfortable with that contract extension, got lazy, hired guys like that were incompetent in recruiting, and then guys like DJ Durkin. That's the best you could come up with.
Well, I'm a big believer that even really bad teams play good teams tight sometimes, right? So if you look at like, there was years ago where the Clippers only won like 11 games and the Cavs or the Texans when they go to, the year that the Texans went, I think they went 2-14 in 2014. The beginning of that season came down to, they started off 1-4. They were supposed to go to the playoffs. All these games came down to a play or two. Yeah. Bad teams
find a way to lose.
Find a way to lose, even if it's close. Like the margins might be, and especially in the SEC. Like we've had our way with Arkansas. How often are those games close?
And how often was it that Arkansas did something stupid?
Yeah.
To blow it. Hey, we got all the momentum. Let's just kick off to Christian Kirk. Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate
Please
you.
Do.
Appreciate you very much, sir. Let's hit a break here.
Thank you, Brett.
I think we're coming back with around Aggieland and some final thoughts.
Right.
Sound good?
Okay.
It's been a good go hour. I was happy to have you back on the show.
It's good to be back. I love
and now
my
you're going to
job.
take another vacation. Thanks.
Soon.
Me too.
Soon.
Me too, buddy.
Going to be basking in the sunlight on South Padre Island.
A month from today, are we flying out?
A month from today, we're heading to Atlanta.
I can't wait until I get there, and then I'm like, I could have waited. You know, it's like I can't wait. I love it. And then by like day 2, I'm like, gosh, just get me home immediately.
Yeah, and it's always so cold in that room. Be sure to bring, do you ever see that picture of Brent Zerman at the SEC Media Days in Atlanta? And here it is, middle of summer, and he's got on a jacket and a
beanie?
A beanie.
Yeah.
We called it a toboggan when I was growing up, but a toboggan's a sled. Anybody else ever call that beanie a toboggan?
Moving on. A moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. When you're looking for a vehicle, and yes, I already talked about my kids getting their license. I'm at that point. I should have already bought them a car, but I take my time on things, as you know. I'll start my search at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. That's where I'll start, because that's where they put all their vehicles on there. They have a new selection all the time. You'll get a good feel for their inventory, what they have. It's a great place to go when you're looking for a vehicle. Their locally owned Aggie alumni team is ready to roll out the red carpet for you, and they have value. Every purchase comes with free oil changes for life. That's thousands of dollars in savings. You don't want to miss out. Those deals don't last forever. And if you're looking for a trade-in, they give you great value. Remember, it's not a far drive. We're talking 15 minutes, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. A short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and you do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. Let's talk a little Snaps clothing. David Nuño here, and I love wearing Snaps clothing everywhere. I've got the flannel on right now. You've seen me in the Tailgater collection with the A&M gear. It is fantastic. If you see me around town with my sons, Christian and Cruz, they've got a bunch of Snaps gear. When they have big games for Consol, they wear nice clothes, so they wear their Snap stuff. And I'm telling you, with baseball season here, let's all kind of go looking stylish and fit to the games there at Olson wearing the Snaps clothing. As a reminder, they are the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snaps maker out there. Their Tailgater collection is built for game day with breathable, moisture-wicking fabrics to keep you comfortable while you rep your Aggies in style. Now, whether you're watching the game from home or maybe you're in attendance, you're tailgating, whatever it may be, you got to make sure you head to snapsclothing.com to see everything they have to offer. It is fashionable, it is awesome, and you're going to love it. Obi, did you see that they're making a Spaceballs sequel?
I never saw the.
You didn't see
I
the
never
first
saw
one?
Spaceballs.
Oh,
I never did.
It's really good.
No, I usually like Mel Brooks films.
Yeah, Mel Brooks is great. Rick Moranis.
Yeah.
Bill Pullman, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
President on
Independence Day.
Independence Day, but he was the Luke Skywalker guy in the show, or maybe he was the Han. I forget what he was. Good movie.
I never saw it.
Around Aggieland, Kaylee Dreyer, no chance has seen Spaceballs.
You're right. I have not.
Are you interested in it?
No.
Probably never saw a Mel Brooks movie.
Do you know who Mel Brooks is?
No.
Do you know who Al Brooks is?
No.
Do you know who
Brooks
We do
Robinson?
this every time.
You know Brooks Robinson?
No.
Brookdale Community College?
Brooks and Dunn?
Yes.
Okay, we found a Brooks.
Favorite Brooks and Dunn song? Never mind.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, we have a lot to get into with track and field, as we said earlier. But to start, Texas A&M baseball had 3 athletes earning a spot on the 2025 ABCA. Third baseman Wyatt Hensler was selected to the first team. Pitcher Justin Lampkin and outfielder Jay Slaviolette were named to the second team. This marks the 4th straight season the Aggies have had multiple players earn honors. Along with this honor for Jace, he was also named the 3rd team All-American by perfect game, as well as the NCBWA. Now moving on to track and field, many of the male track athletes punched their ticket to Friday's finals, starting with Victor Cabigo, who punched the Aggies' first ticket to Friday's finals as he came in 5th in the 3,000-meter steeplechase. Alexander Solovev was a standout on Wednesday as he won the men's pole vault national title. He broke his own school record to capture A&M's second ever outdoor title in the event and the first since 1980, jumping 5.78 meters. This mark also stands as the 4th highest title-winning mark in championship history. Ahmad Robinson also added to the group, advancing to the finals, securing his spot in the 400-meter, and Sam Whitmarsh joined that group after he placed second in his heat in the 800-meter. This is now back-to-back years with the finals appearance from Sam. The 400-meter duo of Jaqueline Scott and Bryce McCrae punched each of their tickets to the finals, closing it out with the men's 4x400 relay team as well. And moving on to the women who ran in prelims last night, a lot of their girls are moving on to finals, starting with the 4x100 meter relay team, placing second in their heat. Deborah Sharono qualified for Saturday's final in the 3,000-meter steeplechase, placing second and breaking her own school record for the 4th time this year. The next 2 qualifiers were Jaya Covington in the 100-meter hurdles and Jasmine Montgomery, who placed first in the 200-meter. And the last qualifier for the women's was the 4x400-meter relay as they came back from 5th place to finish in second and move on to the finals.
Good stuff, Ms. Dreyer. Appreciate you. OB, ready for a good weekend?
Yeah, ready for a good weekend. Great weekend.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you. All right, we're going to hit a break. When we come back, Roy Philpott, ESPN Sirius Satellite, going to be joining us. We'll chit-chat about all things happening in college athletics. After that, a little men's golf talk and Liucci. All that and more is TexAgs Live. All right, we are back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Appreciate everybody listening in this morning. Let's talk a little college athletics in general. Heavy emphasis on baseball and of course, football. We go to the Buppy's Catering Hotline. Roy Philpott from ESPN and Sirius XM joining us here on the program. What's up, Roy? How you been, man?
Been good. Just wrapped up college baseball last weekend down in Auburn. And like you guys, very curious to see what will happen in Omaha. And also thinking ahead towards the fall, man. The countdown is on. You know, it can't get here soon enough, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So from a baseball perspective, what did you think about the two SEC teams only? I say only like it's such a, oh my gosh, they're terrible. They lead the pack. But two that I could absolutely make a case for winning at all. All the teams you can make a case. Coastal Carolina's been on fire. It's unfortunate that the two SEC teams got to play each other right off the bat. But just your thoughts on it.
Well, I saw Arkansas earlier this year, and just talking to coaches around the conference, I think most believe that this was Dave Van Horn's most talented team. And that's saying something for a team that probably should have won a national championship just a couple of years ago if it weren't for that issue over in foul territory behind first base in Omaha. The Eloy brothers, the Bass brothers, I mean, they have been phenomenal. Getting a healthy Gage Wood back, I think, is critical for Arkansas and their chances in Omaha. I mean, this could be their year. I mean, you figure at some point Dave Van Horn is going to push through and they're going to win one. This could be that year, especially with what we saw with Vanderbilt and Texas bowing out early. Auburn's now out. And just by the metrics, you look at, what they bring to the table along with LSU, and both of those teams are going to have a legitimate shot. But I think Arkansas, this is their best chance. And just talking to folks behind the scenes in the league, going back a couple of months, I think that this is Arkansas's best chance under his watch. So we'll see. I do like Coastal. I think Coastal Carolina, having seen them in Auburn sweep through that super regional, they've got the arms to do it. They've got the catcher to do it in Caden Bodine. And we'll see what happens. But, man, I'm excited to see how it unfolds up there in Omaha.
Talking to Roy Philpott here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. It's interesting. The A&M baseball season obviously did not live up to what we had hoped, expected. And, there are some reasons for it. But when you look at when they were good, and there was a stretch of the season they were really good, they beat LSU in a series. They beat Arkansas in a series. They beat Tennessee in a series after being no hit. Which some takeaways, I forget how many games you did of A&M this year, but just your takeaways of what A&M should have been, could have been, and might be next year.
Yeah, it's a season of what ifs, and I haven't paid a close attention to what's happening in the portal. I'm sure Coach Early is going to be active there, but my last time there was the regionals a year ago when Texas was in town. I'll never forget just the intensity, the atmosphere of Bluebell, and all of it. And it's only a matter of time until it gets back there. I mean, we know that. We understand that. But now it comes down to what occurs in the portal and how you're able to bounce back. And the good news is, in this day and era, you know it as well as anybody, the turnaround can happen, instantaneously. So I was surprised. I mean, just with the preseason expectations, the preseason rankings and everything, injuries didn't help out, but it's kind of hard to put your finger on exactly what went wrong. Baseball's a finicky sport too. Like, I hear that from coaches, and it's not popular. Like, there's just some years where you get a little bit unlucky, and you know what? If you're going to win the thing in Omaha, you got to have some breaks. We talked to a guy yesterday on Sirius XM that had won a national championship, and one of the things he focused on for 3 or 4 minutes in our interview was, man, you just got to be a little bit lucky. And sometimes baseball, an entire season, it doesn't go your way. And I would expect that they bounce back quickly. I mean, there's just too many people care about it. There's too much invested in it to where what happens one year, if it goes awry, you can bounce back the next year. And that would be my expectation for the Aggies next year after just a crazy year, man. It's hard to kind of pinpoint how it all went wrong. The Missouri series and just weird things happen. They'll get it fixed. You have to.
Well, I was listening to you yesterday, and I think it's interesting. We as talk show hosts, analysts, there's certain things we have to talk about that I don't love talking about. The politics of sports, if you will, the House settlement, what it looks like, and just how much of that is steering the conversation that you guys are having at XM and at Sirius XM, especially knowing that we're a month away from SEC Media Days and the other media days starting. Just how much of that is part of the fabric of what you guys are talking about?
Yeah. I don't love talking about it. And I think what I said yesterday was, 3 or 4 years ago, the buzzwords were transfer portal, NIL. And I think I said the second that you would say that as a host, I think the natural inclination as a listener is just want to turn the channel because that's just not what you're dialed into and what you want to hear about. And the House settlement, I think, falls into that same category right now. And the nuts and bolts of it in the heart of the offseason are important, I think, for all of us to discuss. $20.5 million, 85% for the most part in the Power Four is going to end up going to the football programs, another 10% for men's basketball, 5% for women's basketball, and those percentages fluctuate. But then I think now the popular question is, and the conversation is, okay, how is that skirted with NIL and collectives, quote unquote? And that's where it's still a little bit unclear because we have this new commission led by Deloitte, which will be able to approve or not approve these deals that happen in terms of name, image, and likeness. And it's going to be all about fair value. That's another kind of catchphrase and keywords that people are talking about, to where you can't pay a backup quarterback $4 million because that just doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't pass the common sense approach. And so there's a lot of deals that have already been done that would be disapproved by Deloitte in this new commission. And so we're going to have to figure out, how does the dust settle with all that? So it's not my favorite thing to talk about. I'd rather talk about Marcel Reed. I'd rather talk about year 2 under Coach Elko. I would rather talk about what DJ Lagway is going to do this year. But here on June 13th, we're kind of forced to, examine how this is going to impact sports, because look, it is. I mean, what's happening now is going to impact the college football and the college athletics that we know and love for the next century. So it matters. It's important. But man, I would rather just talk about hyping up teams that are under the radar and figuring out which teams are, going to not be as good as what people are thinking this time of year.
Roy, one more thing on that. I applaud the effort this time, right? I feel like and I don't even know if they were forced into this, but I applaud the fact that we're going to have some kind of structure, but I don't think it's enough. And I think it's almost just not fake, but I just don't know how long it's going to last.
Yeah. I agree. And the way I frame it is this: we needed to take a step in this direction. We've taken a couple of steps. We've needed guardrails. We've established the basic parameters and foundation for those at this point in time. So, look, you have to start somewhere. We're remodeling our house right now, and I talk to my wife all the time. Well, we got to start somewhere with this room. We have to begin by stripping down the wallpaper. We got to figure out what paint color we're going to use. We got to go buy the paint. Then we got to start painting. Like, we've stripped off the wallpaper now when it comes to providing guardrails for NIL and figuring out what it needs to happen first. We're probably on step 2 of 50, but at least we're walking down that road. And so I think that's progress. Is this commission, is Deloitte going to be the sole answer to all the issues that surround collegiate athletics? Probably not. But, maybe in the next couple of years, we figure out the definitive parameters, the dust settles, and we get kind of a long-term approach to this. But no, we're not there yet. At least we've started. And the last, couple of years, I don't even feel like we've done that. And there's still going to be loopholes too. We're going to have to figure those issues out and solutions to those problems along the way.
All right, Roy, let's go to the things you do want to talk about, which is Marcel Reed and year 2 of Coach Elko. All right, so with Marcel Reed, I find him to be an interesting case because we who cover him need to see a big step up this year. Yet I think sometimes people undervalue what he did last year, considering he wasn't the starting quarterback, was thrust into a situation where many people would have folded, right? He comes into the Florida game as his first start, not knowing he's going to be a starter to that morning. He has to replace Connor in the LSU game, and he has a lot of highs. But I feel like some people are still think more about but can he really lead them? I thought he did a great job leading them last year.
Yeah, I thought he did too. And I mean, I know the start, for Coach Elko's first campaign had everybody just, the expectations are all out of whack, and okay, we're getting ready to take this thing by storm. I think another year with Marcel Reed and Colin Klein, my conversations with Colin Klein over the years, he's going to build the offense around the quarterback and the skill set that he has. And he's got, I think, some interesting weapons, wide receiver this year with the NC State transfer coming in. But the development of Marcel Reed with Colin Klein and how that kind of all intertwines, to me, you get a head start this year knowing that he's going to be the guy. So I'll take my chances with that duo. And look, I can't speak enough about Colin Klein and his approach and his cerebral nature to the game. Just going back to his days at Kansas State and the different quarterbacks that he had, and was always blown away by his approach. That will win in Aggieland. That will take the next step this year, in my opinion. Now, what that looks like with the schedule, what that looks like in terms of getting the college football playoff, all right, you have to win some close games and some tough games. We know that and understand that. Some years it's going to happen, other years it isn't. But I think you have to be very optimistic in a reasonable way, in a logical way, for the first time in a long time with what Elko does, with his approach, with some of the pieces you have coming back, with Colin Klein, with a couple of defensive transfers. Like, you can see the groundwork being laid. It's like, okay, now when does that next step occur? And I know Aggie fans they're impatient, and you've been close before. This is the right approach with Mike Elko, and those in college football know and understand that, and those that have spoken with him at length understand that. So very, very optimistic there. It's just, a break or two along the way, and this thing will get going the way that it needs to over the course of an entire season, not just in a 7-1 start.
Roy, I'm going to give you, I think, a simple question, and you can take it however you want. Like, how many teams you think can do well in the SEC when you are always playing your second and third string quarterback? So I'm going to say that to you, considering the last time A&M had a quarterback healthy for the entire season, which I know doesn't always happen, right? Or most of the season, was 2020. They used two quarterbacks in 21. They used 3 in 22. They used 3 in 24, actually 4, because Marcel Reed came in the bowl game and had to play. And then last year, you thought Connor was going to be your guy, and it was Marcel. They have not had consistency at quarterback, and I don't know if Alabama, Georgia, Texas, any of those would have been able to survive that as well.
No, they wouldn't. I mean, really in football, it's just hard. And now in college football, I mean, just think about what we're seeing at Oklahoma. John Mateer and his offensive coordinator come in from Wazoo, and you've got guys and pieces moving. So if I'm a backup quarterback somewhere and I feel like I've got talent, and by the way, they all feel like they have talent, I'm moving. I'm from one season to the next. And so that creates this issue where, a lot of times the talent shifts quickly, not only at quarterback, but at other positions. And so, you lose your guy. You're not going to be able to make a run to the college football playoff. Who was it that one year Ohio State did it with Cardale Jones and J.T. Barrett, and they went through like 3 different guys. I know that there's some people out there debating the era of the super team, and teams are able to do it, and there's still some signs of that with some programs, but it's not like what it was 6 or 7 years ago when maybe it was Alabama, Ohio State, and Clemson that were kind of rotating around, and Oklahoma dabbled in a little bit, Georgia did. So, no, I mean, if you have multiple quarterbacks you're playing for an extended period of time in this era, I don't think it bodes well for you. So health at that position, consistency at that position. It goes without saying, we love college football. We love football in general. You've got to have it there at quarterback. But, I mean, now more than ever, man, if you're going to different guys and your chances of making the college football playoff, no, they're not going to be good. I'm high on Marcel Reed. I love what he brings to the table with the multiple skill set. And again, I'll go back to relationship with Colin Klein and his. I think that's where the fascinating part occurs for A&M fans this year. Colin Klein settling in. He's going to build this thing now that he's there and he's got his guy and he knows who it's going to be. Got to stay healthy. I'm excited to see what that looks like. I really am.
A very crowded SEC if you consider that a lot of the quarterbacks are new, right? Most of the conference is new. So to me, and this is not an original thought, the quarterback that takes the step, maybe not even a huge step, the step is going to be the difference because we got questions at Texas, as good as Arch could be. We got questions at Georgia. We got questions everywhere when it comes to quarterback.
For Georgia in particular, I'm curious what their offense is with Gunnar Stockton this year. And I'm curious if kind of some of the bumps along the road we saw last year at times offensively rear their ugly head a little bit more this year. I'm not as high on Georgia as others. I'm probably higher on Florida and DJ Lagway. Like, he has taken steps. Billy Napier has survived. They're a team that I believe that could take a giant step forward this season. Oklahoma, in a strange way, is another one. If you go back and watch what Wazoo's offense was about with John Mateer, like plug and play in the SEC, is that easy? No, we understand it. But I think Oklahoma, weirdly enough, could be a team position, as bad as last year was, to win a handful of more games and maybe give Brent Venables a little bit more stability. So OU and Florida would be one in terms of quarterbacks that maybe, I guess there is some buzz about it. And look, we'll be clear and more clear clearer, I should say, on the teams at SEC Media Days that people are, higher on than what they are at the end of last year. Florida and Oklahoma, to me, from what I've seen in my early research, I think are teams that are poised. LSU's opener at Clemson is going to be the one game I think so many people are talking about this offseason, in addition to Texas and Ohio State early. Garrett Nussmeier, his development. You mentioned Texas and Arch Manning. I don't think that just starts out and everybody's clicking on all cylinders, man. That is a high level of expectation that he's got to live up to right out of the gate. And Texas has to replace some guys. I know they're going to be one of the favorites. I get it. I'm playing the wait and see approach there. But surprise teams to me, OU, Florida, their quarterback play. Oklahoma's going to be vastly different. Just some early names and teams that I'm interested in. I think that they could take big steps this year.
What's interesting about both Florida and Oklahoma, and hopefully not A&M, but maybe A&M, that they could be a better team than they were last year. But because of that brutal schedule, you may not see it. And what does that mean for Brent Venables? What does that mean for Billy Napier?
Yeah, for Brent Venables, I think the seat is a little bit warmer. There's no question. And he had to make some changes this offseason and shift what they were doing offensively, because with Jackson Arnold, man, it didn't work. And now, strangely enough, he ends up at Auburn. I have no idea what that relationship is going to be like with Hugh Freeze and the offense that he wants to run. I'm interested, but I was also interested with Peyton Thorne, and I never really loved how all of that was crafted a year ago, and we saw some tremendous inconsistencies there. Billy Napier has bought himself some time. Brent Venables needs to win right now. He needed massive changes. You bring in a different offensive coordinator and a quarterback that worked together previously and put up big numbers. I like that. But you mentioned the schedule. And look, here's the one mistake all of us make this time of year when we start looking ahead. For teams that are going to surprise, the schedule has to help you out. For teams that we've got questions about, the schedule has to help you out. And when you look at it and you say, okay, wait a second, this looks like the most difficult schedule in the SEC, and I don't have any of these team schedules pulled up in front of me right now. But if you look at that and you see that, and it's just what you said, you could be an improved team and be sitting there at 7-5 and 8-4 at the end of the campaign. What good does that do you? So it's not an X factor. It's stone cold. It's what matters the most. What does your schedule look like? Because some of these things are built for you. Oklahoma 2 years ago, their schedule was built to win 10 games. We did their opener in Norman. We said it on the air. They went 10-2. It was constructed for that. Let's see in the SEC who has that most difficult slate, and then you can kind of shine the light on, okay, this team could make a surprise run to the college football playoff. We get 12 teams in, so there's going to be a surprise or two in there from the SEC. Could it be Oklahoma? Could it be A&M? Could it be Florida? We'll wait and find out. But that schedule, I need to do a deeper dive on there and to see, who's got that realistic chance.
To follow up on that thought, and it's just more of an extension, you look at a team last year like South Carolina, nobody was expecting them to take that big step up. And then is there a team that we perceive as this big step up, or is supposed to be a Titan? Maybe it's Georgia, right, that takes a significant step back. So that's the part that in June and July we really don't know.
I mean, I hate saying this. I'm not as high on Alabama right now. If you paid attention, and I love Kalen DeBoer. Had a great relationship with him during his time at UW in Washington. And this guy is a brilliant coach. But just you look at Alabama, it's not what it once was. And I think they're staring 9-3 kind of squarely in the face again. I think Georgia's kind of looking at that same number of wins versus losses again. Do I trust Gunnar Stockton the way, strangely enough, I trusted Stetson Bennett? No, I just don't. So, like, in my opinion, without looking at the schedules right now, Bama and Georgia, I think, have taken a step back towards the rest of the pack in the SEC. And then you mentioned a team like South Carolina. Lenore Sellers returns. I mean, this is a guy that's a dark horse contender for the Heisman Trophy. Dylan Stewart's back. as one of the top edge guys in college football this year. Like, there's some pieces there. If they took the next step, they were a playoff team at the end of last year. I saw them at the end when they won at Clemson, and that team was poised, if they got in, to win a game or two in the college football playoff. You didn't want to see that team at that point in time. Didn't happen. They were left just on the outside looking in. So, but yeah, they were surprised at 9-3. If Georgia and Bama come back to the pack, A&M, Florida, Oklahoma, like, the door opens up a little bit more. And I think that that's real right now. LSU was in the same, LSU with its offensive firepower. Garrett Nussmeier, year 2 with their defensive coordinator coming in, trying to revamp that roster. Brian Kelly's been just out there telling everybody. He told us in the bowl game when they beat Baylor, all our chips are kind of pushed in the middle of the table for that season opener against Clemson on the road there in the ACC. And so, okay, the door's open for them to return to the college football playoff, and a big year for BK, I would say. And he's got the potential, the roster to do it. But yeah, you get me excited talking about this. Like I said yesterday on SiriusXM, I get really excited the Monday after the 4th of July. To me, it feels like college football season then, because then people like us start previewing media days. Yeah. Like, when you start previewing SEC media days and, like, what are your top 5 questions going to be in SEC media days? I start giving myself goosebumps, because that means college football is almost here.
Roy, I do want to ask you one last question, the benefit of the doubt question. So in prior college football eras, Georgia and Alabama, Texas would get the benefit of the doubt because they reload. I'm curious what your thoughts are in today's frameworks, especially with what's coming ahead. Are these teams going to continue to get the benefit of the doubt because of history? Like, what is history going to say about it? Knowing that, yeah, you lost 14 guys to the NFL draft, you lost these guys to the portal. It is not a guarantee in today's world that you have the depth and the young guys to fill it in.
Look at what happened at Florida State last year, right? I mean, they go from undefeated 13-0, they just missed the playoff, and then they go to 2 wins the next year. They received the benefit of the doubt at ACC media days last summer, and then they essentially finished in dead last in the conference. So the benefit of the doubt with some programs is realer, for lack of a better word, than others. I don't trust Florida State right now, and that's not that they can't turn it around quickly. Mike Norvell has done that there. I trust teams, more like Texas and what Sark has done with the quarterbacks that they've been able to bring in. They're probably going to be, one of the favorites in the SEC this year. I don't trust Georgia as much, but they fall in the category of, you trust them a lot more than Florida State. And Kirby hasn't leaned on the portal as often. So, like, you feel like still right now that they're maybe on the back end of this run that they've been on. Alabama, no, they've taken 2 or 3 more steps backwards after Nick Saban until Kalen DeBoer proves otherwise. And like I said, I trust him as a coach and as a tactician as much as anybody, but it's just not the same roster. So the benefit of the doubt, to answer your question, no, I think it's fading because of the quirky nature of transfers. And as hard as it is to maintain consistency, maybe 3 or 4 programs are kind of in that fold. Off the top of my head, Ohio State. Off the top of my head, Texas. And, there's a handful of others out there. But the parity is here more now, I would argue, than at any point, even if we still have 1 or 2 teams at the top of the pile there. I think the wealth is going to be spread a little bit more just in the era that we're in, post-COVID, and the nature of the portal.
Roy, great stuff, man. Thanks so much for making time. We'll talk again, all right?
Yeah, you got it.
Take care. Roy Philpott on the Buppy's Catering Hotline. Great stuff. All right, we'll hit a break here. We'll do a short open segment before we talk a little men's golf. Right now, if your wheels have been damaged by the potholes in town, the curbs, the medians, go see the experts at Brazos Valley Wheel Repair. When you go to them, one thing is going to be clear. You don't need to replace your damaged rims. I mean, you just repair them. That's it. You don't have to spend a lot more money to get them replaced. They'll help you through that. They got 2 decades of experience, and they want to make sure that your wheels are returned to perfectly work-safe conditions, right? And they road force balance all their wheels to make sure you get the smoothest, most safest possible ride. They have experience in everything. Whatever your situation is, they will help you get the repairs that you need so you can feel much better. You can have a free evaluation to save you hundreds of dollars. If your wheels are in good shape but you want a new look, they can take care of that as well. They'll get you the new look. They've got it all, and they have interest-free financing. What you need to do is check them out online, bvwheelrepair.com. That is thewheelrepair.com or in person, 508 Burnett Street in Bryan. That is 508 Burnett Street in Bryan. It is Brazos Valley Wheel Repair. Nygren, what do you think about that song?
I don't know the words to it.
Luke, were you jamming that?
Of course, my head was bobbing anytime Bad Bunny plays.
Oh, you knew it was Bad Bunny. TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're going to the Rollo Insurance Studio. Oh, we are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. We're going to go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Nygren, what do you have for us?
Tonight, 7:30 on ABC, Game 4 of the NBA Finals. Alex Caruso and the Oklahoma City Thunder find themselves down 2-1 to Quentin Jackson and the Indiana Pacers. Game 4 tonight in Indiana. Through 3 games, the bald Mamba Alex Caruso has 39 points, 5 steals, 14 rebounds, and is shooting 50% from 3.
Can I tell you that you sounded like an ESPN sports anchor there? That was like, I'm not kidding. You were very good. That was
Thank you.
It was the tone, the messaging. Very good job, Reese.
Thank you. As someone who hopes that they are an ESPN news anchor or play-by-play guy, that is very nice to hear.
I wouldn't go that far, buddy. Let's go to Luke Evangelist, who's got a little bit more when it comes to Aggies in the pros.
Yes, I do. So as we had the video for Braden Montgomery's walk-off homer, they're playing a series against the Bowling Green Hot Rods, which are the High A affiliate for the Rays. In another one of their games, you might have missed this, Hunter Haas had 2 home runs, one of A&M's better, I would say, one-and-done players in really any sport of the transfer portal era. Hunter Haas was just solid all season for the Aggies. Yeah, he had 2 home runs the other night, so shout out to Hunter Haas.
All right, shout out. Hey, I'm going to just quickly read this text, and then we can kind of just bob our heads and answer yes or no. Would Jimbo get fired? This is from Mike in Deer Park. Would Jimbo get fired if he signed Cade Klubnik instead of Connor Wickman? My opinion of the situation is it doesn't change the history. I think Cade Klubnik struggled for a couple years. In fact, up until 11 months ago, 10 months ago, it was Connor Wickman's world. He never was fully healthy last season, in my opinion, and something was wrong. So it just didn't jive with this new offense. Something did not work out with him. I still think Connor Wickman is a legit quarterback if he figures it out. And I know that's a big if, but that's me. Luke, agree? Disagree?
There's not a single quarterback in that class that would have saved Jimbo's job. That was the most overrated class top to bottom. Just think about all these names that didn't pan out that were 4 and 5 stars. Drew Aller, the book is still out on him. Ty Simpson, still don't know about him. Devin Brown, definitely not. Walker Howard, Gunnar Stockton, Nick Evers, Malik Murphy, Brady Allen. Nobody knows who Brady Allen is. Caden Hauser, Taven Jackson, A.J. Duffy. These are like 4 and 5 star players, top 15 quarterbacks, and they did not really produce at the college level. So I think that entire 2022 class was really, you talk about hit or miss, there were more misses than hits. So I don't know if even Cade Klubnik or any quarterback in that class would have changed the result for Jimbo's job.
Good job, Luke. Good analysis. We'll hit a break here. When we come back on TexAgs Live, Brian Kortan, Phichaksn Maichon on the program. Looking forward to talking to them about the season that just passed and Phichaksn's future. Right now, if your organization or business is looking for an opportunity to engage Aggies, you need to reach out to the Association of Former Students. They bring Aggies of all ages together during their marquee events held throughout the year. We're talking about the fun ones like Aggie Ring Day, Aggie Hullabaloo, and the Gathering. They welcome tens of thousands of guests. And there are many sponsorship and vendor opportunities to get your brand in front of those attendees. These events offer a wide variety of both digital and in-person options to promote your brand. And these options include title sponsorship naming, on-site presence, activation, recognition, and social media posts, and much, much more. There's also advertising opportunities in both the Texas Aggie Magazine and the Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So if your business is ready to engage with Aggies, you need to choose a partner that's been supporting the Aggie Network for over 140 years. For more information on options available through the association, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. That is sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. It is the Association of Former Students. Hey everyone, David Nuño and Olin Buchanan and OB. Typically we start off the show in this section and we call it the Holistic Planning Cool
The cool zone, yeah. It's pretty cool.
What do we know about holistic planning?
Well, a lot of cool stuff. For instance, holistic planning can help you with your investments.
I love that.
They can help you with your taxes. So
I don't like paying taxes.
You can get that money from your investments and they keep it. They'll help you keep it away from the government.
Yep.
Not all of it, but more of it. And then they'll even help you with your estate planning. When you're old like me, you got to make sure some of that money you made is there for when you want to retire and just enjoy the rest of your life.
You want your estate to be planned. but they also do something else.
Yeah, well, if you are, like, say, a sports fan, and you've always wanted to...
Everybody watching us, right?
Yeah. And you want to always dream of being an owner, well, in a certain way you can, because they will broker the deal for you to invest in pro sports.
Yeah, what you need to do is check out investinprosports.com. That's where you can get all the information if you want to invest in a team. I don't know what team. He'd probably try to buy the Cowboys. I'd try to buy a lot of the Houston teams. Whatever it may be, investinprosports.com. It is holistic planning, and we love hanging out at the Holistic Planning Cool Zone. All right, we're back. TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's talk a little Aggie men's golf. Coach Brian Kortan just finished his 5th season at Texas A&M. They finished 11th in the NCAA championships, highlighted by senior Phichaksn Maichon's historic runner-up, the best individual performance in school history. He's here in studio for the first time. Gentlemen, hello. What's up, man?
P.
How are you? So, did I say it right, though? That
yeah.
It did?
Oh, yeah, that's perfect.
The true story, I practiced. And I practiced, and I practiced, just like you do when you're doing golf, right?
You won't be the only one.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you being here. Just first off, let's look back at the season, Brian, and just your thoughts on how it all played out, and just your emotions and your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, played out just a little bit short in the end, but for the most part, we took a lot of lumps in the fall, and I think it kind of opened the guys' eyes to what we needed to do. And starting in January, we took a kind of a team trip to California and played Stanford in a match, and that kind of proved to be like a real galvanizing moment where the guys spent time together and really kind of dug into each other and had I mean, it wasn't intended for that, but they just had such a good time together that I think they kind of just became a really good team over that 4 or 5 days over there. And from that point forward, we never took a step back.
Yeah.
And everybody got a little better. Culminating with a really good run at SECs. We won a couple golf tournaments along the way. And then the national championship, where we didn't finish a couple rounds the way we needed to, which we need to be really good in those stretches. We're playing with guys that are experienced guys, and they know that, but we just need to get over the hump a little bit at the end, and we'd have been a little further in the national championship. And of course, it helps when you got a guy driving the bus like P, who, first team All-American with Golf Week and won some golf tournaments, and probably in terms of Aggie golf, probably one of the best seasons that's been put together.
Pete, for you personally, just when you look at the season itself and the growth of the program, just what was your recollection of it?
Yeah, obviously, like he said, we had a little, we had a tough fall, especially the first event. Just kind of like we took a hit, But it was nice. Like he said, when we went to California, we got a lot of team bonding. We started playing for the team instead of like for individuals wise, which is kind of nice. And it's been nice seeing like all the guys getting a lot better. They all practice hard.
Yeah.
Which is what I like. I like practicing and trying to get better every day, and that's what the guys are doing. So it kind of showed at the end that we made it to the SEC finals, and we had a good run at nationals, and it was just it's good to see that we just kept our head down, kept the momentum going. So.
You like to practice. Do you play like you practice? Like, is it an intense practice session for you?
I just like being out there on the golf course.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it intense, but I just kind of spend my time on the golf course figuring some stuff out. Just kind of relaxing for me. That's just how I like it.
Brian, for you, it's when you have an athlete that's just what that's what makes them happy, is doing what you coach them to do.
Well, Fast and I have done I don't want to say we've done a great job or anything like that. That's not what I mean to say, but we've really focused on really getting like gym rats, the gym rat version of golfers, whatever you want to call that. And our guys, they love to get out there and work. And that's a big part of it. We're kind of a blue collar work ethic team, and with some really talented, awesome guys. But they work their tail off, and they like the work. They like the grind, and they like to help each other get better, and it sure makes a big difference when your best players are your hardest workers, and that was the case with this squad for sure.
Hey, you've been good your whole time here, but this little stretch that I'm reading about, in your 8 of your last 9 events, you finished in the top 10. Just talk about like being in that kind of zone. Did you were you expecting to be doing well each time, or you don't even think that way?
I mean, I played bad in the fall just because I was thinking about the result before it even happened. Coach and 2 coaches kind of put me a reality check where it didn't matter what I was doing at that time. And I just kind of kept my head straight, tried to keep my head straight the whole spring, and it obviously worked out a little bit better. I didn't really expect much. It was just go put the best round I can on the board for the day and just live with it.
That's the art of coaching, right? Like
don't let him sugarcoat it. He expects to play good every time he tees it up, and when he doesn't, he's darn grumpy. But like the really good ones are. But in general, just the way we went about it was, just trying to keep the main thing, and that was kind of our message to him. And when he kept the main thing, his golf and his talent, they rise, and that's really important. And it's a good lesson for the rest of our guys, because he put his nose down and went after it, and as did Wheaton, added his pounds, and so did Mike Heidelbaugh, and these guys were great. And for them to do those things together and have a guy that showed up every week and kind of, led the charge, it was nice. And that's what it takes to be great. Great team in college golf.
I've heard this about you, and it's living up to be true. You're a very focused individual. I assume that's part of the reason you haven't gone home, right? You've been home, what, twice in 4 years?
Yeah,
you're just, you're working.
Yeah. No, he's right. I may have sugarcoated a little bit. I hate losing. I hate not being able to win golf tournaments. I know it's hard to win, but it just drives me even more.
How difficult has it been to not be able to go home, though?
It's definitely hard because I'm the only child, and my mom and my dad wanted to see me. But it's just part of my career. I mean, we knew signing up to it, just kind of like if I played good this year, I would have to stay there the whole summer and probably leave after my Corn Ferry season's over and go home, play some Asian tours, and probably fly home and hang out with them for like 2 weeks and come back and get ready for the next season. But yeah, I mean, we knew it's going to be tough from the start, but it's a lot more opportunities out here. I mean, I'm not going to go anywhere else because this place feels like home right now, so it's no place to move.
Well, this is a perfect time to ask. Why Texas A&M? How'd you get here?
I got recruited by him and JT early on I think my sophomore year, honestly. And then took a visit to Arizona, was about to commit, and then my dad never really like the coaches much, but I liked the facility and stuff. But then JT called literally right when I came back from the visit and set up an official visit around junior year, like October-ish, I think. And then it came in for October. Yeah, and then I really liked the place.
Yeah.
I mean, the place was nice. Everyone was so nice. My dad loved it because, I mean, we have our own facility right there. And we live 30 seconds away from it,
Yeah.
And it's just very convenient to practice. The team was great. And he wanted me to go play with Sam because Sam was, at that point, was really good.
Yeah.
What he was doing. And before even after he broke his collarbone, playing whatever he was playing.
Football.
Yeah.
Intramural football.
Yeah, my dad was like, because everyone that came out of A&M has a good chance of making a pro, and he wanted me to go see what it's like being over there.
Yeah.
And obviously the place is sweet, and D1, SEC, and everyone has a good community. So.
And the culture and the way Aggies are and the Aggie network, how much has that meant to you?
Oh, a lot. Obviously, like, I would not have had this many opportunities without the Aggie network and the culture, Like, it's definitely nice having, like, guys that don't care how you play. They always support you regardless of how good you are or, how the team's doing. And it's definitely nice to see that. So it's been here my whole 4 years.
Let's do this. Let's hit a break. I want to ask you about playing with Sammy and what you learned from him and also what your future is going to look like and the future of the program. Wait a break. Right now we're talking Heritage Films. When it comes to preserving your farm or your ranch's legacy, you need to reach out to Chance McClain and his team there at Heritage Films. They tell stories. They're amazing documentarians. And what they love to do is tell the story about how you're transferring the values of your land to your future generations. When you have an awesome land, you want your family to know all about it, right? You want the next generation and the generation after that. Chance does stories for family ranches, family businesses, and also grandfathers, uncles, anybody in your family. He does these 2-hour documentaries that you're absolutely going to love. We did one with my dad. I highly recommend it. You can check out the website, yourheritagefilm.com. Yourheritagefilm.com, or call them up, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. It's Heritage Films. We're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Got Brian Kortan and P in studio. P-Shack, but P. We're boys like that.
No,
right?
P's great,
yeah. We don't use the usted form anymore. We use two. Cool. All right. So talk to me about Sammy, because I was here during that amazing run, and just what did you learn from him, and just seeing him go through it and how it kind of shaped you.
Yeah, I would say when I came to college, I was more like robotic-wise. Like every shot has to be perfect. You know, it was kind of like I was playing the range. I wasn't playing the actual golf course. And I mean, playing with Sammy, he didn't really teach me anything, but I learned from him by watching him. He's a definition of how can you score the quickest. You know, because I was more like if I hit in the fairway and greens every single time, I'm gonna play good. But that's not how it works out there. I mean, you're gonna make mistakes, and it's just how can you play out of there, you know, play the next shot. And he just has a really good attitude to kind of more like he kind of leaves his bad shot behind, just kind of play forward and stuff, which kind of came from him, and it was good to see.
Kortan, how like when you see talent at a young age, how hard is to be that to then what he becomes, right? Like talk about that journey. Like you knew he had something, and then he became something.
Yeah, I mean, it's every kid's different. Pease was like he said. I mean, he's literally the guy that'll, if you told him you needed to hit 1,000 golf balls this week, he wouldn't bat an eye. He would hit his 1,000 golf balls, and I think that's what how he learned the game. I mean, a lot of ways was his time spent was in such big blocks. Like you need to go putt for 2 hours. He would putt for 2 hours.
Right.
And then there's guys like Sammy who, if you said, Sammy, you need to go putt for 30 minutes, he'd be like, really? That's a long time. So, I mean, it's a different journey for each guy, but for him to watch P come from where he came from, and in Thailand, no wind, his first tournament, we go to Erin Hills, wind blows 100, and he's like, it's like the moon to him. So for that first little bit of the semester, that first year, fast walked with him a lot. That was his task, to teach P a little bit about the golf game. Not that he couldn't physically do it. It's just learning how to find numbers and understanding what you're trying to do with each shot. But the journey becomes opening your eyes to the game, figuring out how to work a little different so that you don't stall out, and then accept the responsibility that comes with being really good at what you do. And that sometimes is the hardest thing, because that responsibility becomes you honing your craft and continuing to elevate yourself while you're in a team atmosphere. So it's fun to watch him do it, though. I mean, and the other part too, when he came here, he was skinny, kind of not nearly as big dude he is, but that's one of our big focuses too, is the physicality of what we do, and he embraced it all, and that's what has really got him to where he is now.
Okay, we got about 45 seconds before we hit a break. Just what's the future? What's this summer look like in the path?
Nothing much. I leave Monday to go to Wichita, pretty much out of nowhere. But and go 2 weeks in a row, come back for a week and reset, and then probably have to play 6 in a row. Honestly, 6 weeks,
all
and then
Corn Ferry stuff.
Yeah, all the Corn Ferry stuff, and just kind of grind because every points matter right now.
Yeah.
Can't really take a week off, and then hopefully I play good enough to keep going in playoffs and just go on from there.
Hope to get you here in studio again. All right, man.
Oh yeah, perfect.
Keep in touch. Appreciate you. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna head a break. When we come back, around the SEC, Billy Liucci, your text messages at 979-693-1150. You are listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. We'll be back in 2 and 2. Here we go. Oh, hey. I was on air. TexAgs Live. Presented by... You laughing at me? No. I think you were laughing at me.
Never.
What's up with that?
Never.
We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers still. Need to slow that down. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is hour number 3 of the program. Billy should be here at some point. Right now, though, let's do Around the SEC, brought to you by the Jaxer Group. And with that, the world-famous Luke Evangelist. Luke, do you have stuff for us on Around the SEC?
I do. You know, when we're looking around the SEC, everyone's thinking football or everyone's thinking baseball, but as the TexAgs basketball analyst, it is my job to make sure you don't forget that basketball is still on the horizon. And with that, A&M's team is in place. The coaching staff is mostly in place, but the schedule is what everyone's talking about now.
Everyone?
Well, like
you are.
Most of the basketball talk has been great article, Luke, or let's have some cookies, or Jelly Kelly saying something. But right now, my focus is on that schedule and finding out who and where and when and why A&M's going to play these teams. So another piece of that puzzle was released over the last week. A&M, it's been announced they're going to play Pitt in the SEC ACC Challenge, and they are going to play on Tuesday, December 2nd. A&M also led off the SEC ACC Challenge last year with a Tuesday game against Wake Forest, which they won. If you remember correctly, that was a 57-44 win for A&M. So real quick, if someone could do the math on how many total points that was, I'm going to say around over 100. My question for you, David, is would A&M, before we get into all the other matchups, do you think A&M is going to score more than 100 points in that game, more than the total of these two teams combined from their last SEC ACC Challenge game?
You're giving me an impossible question to answer. Do I think they're going to score over 100 points when that doesn't happen often? No, I don't think they're going to score over 100 points. But I don't know. It's Bucky ball. Like, I don't even know what to expect, Luke. Like, it's not frustrating. It's actually kind of exciting. I envision this like really good offense that we saw that Alabama had, that Auburn had, that, you know, maybe could routinely score in the 90s. I know that Pitt hasn't been very good recently. What did they go, like 15-17 last year?
Yeah, they were bad,
and
they just lost their best player, Jalen Lowe, to the transfer
Is it
portal.
Jeff Capel who's the coach there?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, you know what? If you made the number 91, I'd take the over. 100 seems like a lot.
That's fair. And maybe I was exaggerating, but I do think it is going to be fun to watch that, you know, in a game, a total between two teams A&M play in a game A&M played in last year might just be what A&M could score in maybe not a power conference game, but another non-conference game. I'm going to run through some of these other matchups because you remember last year the SEC went 15-1 against the ACC. And if you weren't already noticing it already, that was when a lot of analysts around the country started to pick up on the SEC having a dominant non-conference slate was when they just pummeled the ACC 15-1 in this challenge. So I don't know if that's going to happen again this year because I'm not as high on the top end teams in the SEC, but Florida, the reigning national champs, will play at Duke, a team that's going to reload from having 2 lottery picks. Georgia will play Florida State. That's just 2 mid teams facing off. Miami and Ole Miss will be an intriguing matchup because you've got Chris Beard and then Jai Lucas in his first year trying to turn around Miami. And then probably the second best game of the men's slate behind Florida and Duke is going to be North Carolina and Kentucky. That one will be played at Rupp Arena. Some other ones for you, Missouri at Notre Dame. I don't know if that piques anyone's interest. Tennessee at Syracuse could be intriguing. I'm interested to see what Tennessee looks like next year. Virginia Tech and South Carolina. Oklahoma at Wake Forest. LSU at Boston College. Clemson at Alabama should be a really fun watch on Wednesday, December 3rd. Mississippi State and Georgia Tech. Louisville at Arkansas will be really good. I'm really high on what Louisville's got this year. They did a lot of work in the transfer portal. Arkansas will probably be a preseason top 10 team. Then you've got NC State at Auburn, which is the headliner, I believe, on Wednesday, December 3rd. That's going to be, of course, Will Wade and Bruce Pearl, 2 preseason top 25 teams. And then to round it out, SMU at Vanderbilt and Virginia at Texas. David, what matchup stands out to you in the men's SEC ACC Challenge?
Give me 2 or 3 to think about, because I was thinking about your comment about the Vols, and I was like, I think they get the benefit of the doubt. Remember, I was having that conversation with Philpott on certain teams that get the benefit of the doubt. I feel like Tennessee is one of those programs that gets my benefit of the doubt. Throw me 2 or 3 of the intriguing ones, and I'll tell you who the one is.
Florida at Duke.
Yeah, that's it.
NC State at Auburn.
Florida at
Clemson at Alabama. North Carolina at Kentucky.
Yeah, I think Florida at Duke. That's the one. Okay. I think Duke is back to being Duke. I think the fact that those two teams are playing again, like your national champ. Yeah, I'm going Florida.
I think that's completely fair. I don't know if I've touched on it yet, at least on the show, but they love to do little storylines in these little challenges. So last year, Coach Forbes from Wake Forest, who was an assistant at A&M, they matched up A&M and Wake Forest. And then this year, A&M and Pitt, you're like, what's the connection there? Well, Federico, before he played at Texas Tech, played for Coach Capel for 2 years at Pitt, where he was on the all-defensive ACC team. So Pitt's lost. Pitt's been one of those teams that they can't hold on to their star players because they're always losing them in the portal. And Federico is one of those players where he's going to return home to his former school and hopefully have a great game for A&M. But when you look at the non-conference schedule right now for A&M, they've got the season opener hosting UCF, the return game of the home and home. They've got the home and home with Oklahoma State, where they're going to go at Stillwater this year. And then this is a very winnable game, in my opinion. Just looking at the rosters, I haven't seen either team play, but I know what Pitt lost and I know what A&M gained. I think this is a manageable and winnable game for A&M in year one under Bucky McMillan to hopefully boost that profile. I'm projecting it'll probably be a quad 2 road game. Maybe it will be quad 1, but I just don't think Pitt is going to be very strong this year. They've been a bubble team the last couple of years, and their roster didn't exactly get better. So I like the matchup overall in year one.
All right, I got a question for you, Luke. All right. What do you think would happen if A&M, I see your smile already because you know it's going to be a good question, if A&M played Maryland?
That is a great question.
Thank you.
And David, I don't like to do hot takes, but I feel like because of the storylines and where I think these two teams are going to be projected, I don't think it's crazy to say you might just see them play in the NCAA tournament. If obviously both teams got to get there, but
if it's in the Sweet 16, it won't be Maryland.
That's really funny, David, and I have nothing to say on that point because
that was rude. I'm sorry. It was there. It was there. I just had to take it. It was there. I'm sorry. I love what Buzz did with the team. I think Maryland's an interesting team. And in fact, I was going to do this with Billy, but I can kind of bring it up here. They did add some pieces, and I think an easier kind of conference overall. Would you agree with me?
100%.
Okay. If Pharrell Payne is the player that we saw in the NCAA tournament, the guy who took off, and if Buzz uses him that way, because I think that's another question. Solo, I think have we seen the best of Solo? I feel like we have. I'd love to have him here. I'm not saying that. I love his energy. I love what he played. I don't like him shooting threes, but those are really nice cornerstone pieces. And then they added that
Rodney
dude.
Rice.
There you go.
So I think a great underweight. Obviously, it would be Buzz against his old team. You'd be taking the 2-star players from Indiana last year and matching them up with each other, with Rice at Maryland now, and then Mbako at Texas A&M.
And then the Kansas player went to Maryland too, right?
Yeah, they've got some nice pieces, as you mentioned. Just if they were to play, a Bucky McMillan-led system is tailor-made to beat Buzz Williams teams. And if you don't believe me on just the system, look at the players they have. Pop Isaacs is notorious for going off against Buzz Williams defenses. He had 30 when he was at Texas Tech, 25 when he was on Creighton on the Aggies. So it would be a very interesting matchup. And I don't think it's out of line to say you might see these two teams meet up. Maryland and A&M are both kind of projected as anywhere from a top 30 or top 40 team next year just based on roster alone. That's not me saying that. That's John Rothstein. That's ESPN. That's Joe Lunardi having these teams projected to be anywhere from an 8 seed to one of the last 4 teams in. And when you're in that area, you just might get that matchup. And we know the committee loves to finagle some matchups. So I think it would be a really fun matchup. Billy's saying I don't know anything, and that's your signal that he's
he's here. Should I hit a break or should I let him in studio?
He said sure to hitting a break.
Thanks. Thanks for the executive decision, Billy. Appreciate that. All right, we will hit a break here, and we will come back with Billy Liucci. I want to do an extension of our basketball conversation because there's an article that kind of breaks down the teams that had the best offseason. We'll get into that here on the other side. Right now, Milliken Reserve, they're a farm-to-table community. They are in College Station. They got homes, they got trails, they got farms, they got wide open spaces, and they have a mission to build a healthy community around nature. They're committed to treading lightly on the land that you can find Milliken Reserve on. They have 2,600 acres of open space. They've got farms. They got trails. Speaking of the trails, 30 miles of trails. They have respect for that native landscape and that wildlife, and they want you to connect with your family in nature. Be outdoors, love it, get that vitamin C, and just enjoy, vitamin D, and enjoy the outdoors. They have a variety of native species that find their homes in the preserved woods, ponds, and the creeks. You can learn more at millikenreserve.com. That website again, millikenreserve.com. Learn all about the hiking, the biking, the canoeing, the kayaking, the equestrian trails, the evening yoga, the summer camps, the music festivals, the farmer markets, and the farm tours. millikenreserve.com. All right, guys, let's talk about some new partners. Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. They're Aggie owned and operated. They are an mobile IV hydration company that was founded back in 2024. I met with Sheldon and Danny over the last week, and they're awesome people. They really know what they're doing. They're proud to serve Bryan College Station with awesome services like IV hydration, Botox, and even some weight loss options. Whether you're looking for a quick boost of hydration or dehydration preventative, they can tailor an IV cocktail specific to your needs. And on a busy weekend, I know some of you guys might be partying a little bit too much. If that's the case, an IV can be one of the easiest ways to ensure you're receiving all those necessary vitamins and minerals to make you feel better. Their overall mission is to bring a more personalized and accessible wellness option to the broader range of clientele here in the Bryan College Station and Brazos Valley area. To book an appointment or inquire about it, just call them up or text them. 979-217-1561. Again, it's Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. Check them out. It's our friends at Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Billy, do me a favor. Read this address for me, right there.
508 Burnett Street in Bryan.
Okay. How do you know that it's Burnett, not Burnett? I know that there's a city.
I would read it Burnett if you put an E on the end of it.
Okay.
But it could be Burnett. But I would read it as Burnett if you put an E on the end of it.
Well, Randall Salado says that 20 minutes ago, I said Burnett, not Burnett, and he knows it's Burnett. And I'm just saying, maybe. But you don't live here. You live in
What's
Salado.
his name?
Randall.
Randall,
He probably went to
you're
school here.
correct.
I've been doing this read for 19 months. Nobody's told me. All right. It's like Welborn or Wellborn.
I think it would be.
I know the Burnett's.
Hey, how about the ambush that went on with 8 people trying to
Fix your
come in
mic?
and quietly convince me to fix my mic?
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Hey, we got a quality show.
They had to call Luke in here like he's the closer.
Have you ever seen Luke sad? Well, yes, after the Aggies lost in basketball. But other than that,
I've seen. He was sad a lot down the stretch run last year. Zane thought he was gonna lose it
because of basketball, though.
Yeah,
that's the only thing that makes him
He
sad.
was in a dark place there, and then they, beat an Ivy League team in the first game. He had them win the national title.
Mm-hmm. Well, they were up significant. Was it 12 points with 10 minutes left?
I just wanted to see him play Auburn, man, in
Me too.
Atlanta, in that crowd. And by the way, I mean, the way both those teams played was awful. Michigan played 40 minutes like they played the first 20 against A&M.
Yep.
Auburn played so awful in that game. You wonder how much of it had to do with the way Michigan was playing or if that was just you were going to catch them on a bad day. Very well could have been that. Instead, they go to the Final Four.
So CBS Sports has an article on grading first-year coaches and their roster.
Mm-hmm.
A&M got a very favorable grade.
Okay.
We got an A- on their roster. I thought it was, I'll give you some of the other teams, but I thought it was very nicely written about A&M. It says, how would McMillan fare at recruiting at a big boy job after arriving from Stanford with exactly 0 high major experience of any sport on his resume? The answer is, as it turns out, just fine. The Aggies have assembled a competitive roster highlighted by 3 top 80 transfers and plenty of outside shooting. Goes on. He gives them an A-. Only one team got a better grade than them on this list.
Who was it? Just out of curiosity.
Out of curiosity, I have it written on a different page because it's going
Okay,
slow.
don't worry about it. Is it NC State?
It is
Will
NC
Wade?
State.
Okay.
It is. Yeah, it was NC State.
No,
he grades Texas on here and Maryland, by the way.
Okay. Look, what they were able to do, and really I said it before, it's Bucky in the staff he assembled too. He did that, I'd say first, but that kind of came together as they were getting recruits. But the staff he's put together and just Bucky McMillan, the recruiter. And I don't know who it was, somebody from down in that area when I called, when I was told, hey, as soon as it wasn't Beard, it's going to be one of these 3. And, you got enough, because Bucky's name was the one no one had talked about and had kind of been brought up to me, like, in a different way twice. You go, okay, I need to start making calls about him. So I called people down in the Birmingham area.
Mhm.
People, I've said it before, I called Cole Kubelik, I'm calling football people about, just to see, like, what are they saying about him in Birmingham? And first thing out of somebody's mouth was recruiter. Like he's going to be he's going to be an incredible recruiter when he gets an SEC job. And I think this is just a glimpse into what you're going to see Bucky McMillan do.
Yeah.
Because I still think people have to understand what a shortened window this was because of when Buzz left, because of, it was about a week, maybe 10-day, I think about a week search or so, maybe a little bit longer. But, look, if a basketball coach leaves here again or baseball, I would love for them to do so at a more of a normal time. Like, just get the hell out if you're leaving. Like, Slosh, it had to do with the College World Series, so that was so late in the cycle.
Yep.
And then the same thing with Mark Turgeon. Gary Williams retired at a really weird time. I think Mark Turgeon might have left in like May, maybe. It was something crazy. Now, there weren't all these portal window things going on back then. And then the same thing with Buzz. You know, it's not May, but it was, you know, longer after A&M season ended than it needed to be.
Some of the other grades, Texas gets a B+, so close with Sean Miller. The thing that caught my attention here was I do believe it, but Tremont Mark is back. I feel like he's played A&M for 35 years.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But he's got another year. It
Yeah.
says here that they have 3 guards that average 20-plus minutes, Jordan Pope, Tremont Mark, and Chendall Weaver.
Yeah, Weaver's tough.
And
I don't know
then
what-
Maryland. Do you want to hear about Maryland?
Yeah, I mean, those guys that you talked about, at least 2, I think all 3 of them were on the team last year, weren't they?
That's what I'm saying. He's bringing back 3 guards that with 20 more minutes.
Okay.
But keeping the fact in today's portal window, first-year coach keeping that nucleus.
Gotcha.
And it says Buzz Williams, board-crashing veteran Solomon Washington, and paint scorer Pharrell Payne are following Williams from A&M to help instill some of that hard-nosed culture. And it also goes on to talk about Miles Rice, who comes from Indiana, and David Coit from Kansas. Gives them a B+. But A&M,
Good for them.
higher grade.
Good for those guys at Maryland.
Sorry, I'm just reading you some of the things.
I'm saying, like, I mean, Solo and Pharrell Payne, they go do their Maryland thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's college sports today. I wouldn't say I'll root for them. I don't wish anything ill on them. I want them to have careers in basketball. So, but as far as success, year 1 at Maryland, it just doesn't really matter to me. I guess I'll be kind of interested. But yeah, so that's college sports. He says, you have a coaching change, guys leave. And that's, you go back and fight that thing, not to rehash it all, but that was, you get a guy like Jace leaving this year and you realize how much different that is. And I know he got his coach in early to stay, and that's part of why he stayed. But Jace didn't want to leave, and I do think there were probably a couple other coaches, I don't know who they are, that he would have probably stayed because he wanted to. And then you see Grahovic, and I think likely, although nothing, I don't think as far as today anything's been announced, but I feel fine about Sorrell. Like those guys end up finishing as Aggies. After a coaching change. And it's hard enough to do these days without a coaching change, which is with as much tampering and trying to get. And I'm not acting like A&M. Look, Braden Montgomery came to A&M from Stanford. That was a devastating loss for Stanford. They lost him in 1 year and Kennedy the next. It goes both ways. So it's not like this is a complaint on the state of college sports. It's not a complaint on A&M's getting wronged somehow.
Right.
But it does make you appreciate the guys like Jace, Gavin, and Caden. And I also understand, like, Solo and Pharrell, they signed on with that coach and that style of play, and they believed in that. It wasn't about, hey, unfortunately, it's not about, hey, I'm going to Texas A&M. The real reason they were going was to fit in as a piece on that basketball team, on the style of play and the program culture that coach sold. And A&M's going to get that benefit with Bucky. Guys are going to come here. Look, just like Mbako leaves Indiana, and he chose Bucky ball and A&M because he likes that style of play and what Bucky sold him on, that, hey, you can come in here and this will prepare you to go even higher in the NBA draft. And it's a style of play that's conducive to your skill set. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. It's going to take advantage of your talents. That's the age we're living in college sports. I think everybody just needs to accept that.
A couple things on that. First, I feel that the vibe, a lot of people were wondering what kind of Trev's ability to hire coaches and what we think about him. And I think Bucky's given me some of those Jamie Morrison vibes early on. Where remember when Jamie came on, I was like, I need to do a little bit more research on this guy. This guy seems like he's got, and I feel like Bucky in short order has become that like name that when you start talking to folks outside of this area, and you mentioned your folks in Auburn, but that like, okay, I see what he's doing here. Now he's going to have to prove it but it's got that same kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, it does. It does. I mean, it had it from the moment he was hired, if you were listening. Not you, but like if you were listening to what people were saying about him, it had that. So, I mean, look, TBD on all of this, all these recent hires in the big three. And it is a weird's not the right word. It's just, I saw somebody on Twitter, forget, trying to say like, Sark in Texas, stock skyrocketing through the roof. Brent Venables, disaster. Mike Elko, A&M, same as always. And that's such a lazy, clickbaity. And if you did it on purpose, then it's a good tweet because it worked. If you really believe that, which I think even some Aggies that I talk to tend to try to like, it's almost like they're trying to convince me that I have to believe that. I am in a wait and see mode on everything these days, but the fact that an 8-4 in year one of a football coach in this league is not same old same. And I know Kevin Sumlin, Summy did better. Jimbo did the same. Jimbo was 8-4 in year one. And Jimbo had a top 10 win at the end against LSU. Elko had top 10 wins against Missouri and LSU. And I know people go, oh, again, Missouri was a 10-win team. They're 10-3, I think. Pretty sure they finished 10-3. You can look that up.
I'm fairly sure they were 10-2 for the regular season.
And,
lost the bowl game.
And LSU, I think, finished 9-4 probably. These were not. It wasn't like they were unranked dogs at the end of the season that you beat. So to win those kind of games in year one and go through a quarterback change, and again, you compare it to your peers, and I've said it before. Look around. Do it yourself if you don't believe me. Go check in this conference what all the 16 active coaches were in their first year as a head coach at their current school. Check it out and see where Elko lands at an 8-4 regular season. Go do that exercise, and I think Kalen DeBoer was 9-3 after inheriting all of that Alabama talent and taking over for Nick Saban. 9-3. He would have been one higher, and then Brian Kelly went 9-3 and played in the SEC title game, which is exactly, the difference between what Brian Kelly and Mike Elko did? You know what the difference was?
What's the difference?
From me to you. That's how the down and distance on fourth down against Peyton Thorne, and they couldn't tackle him. We could go through 10 plays from that game. I heard you guys this morning making yourselves so depressed.
Wasn't depressed?
I thought Olin was going to throw himself
through this. We're going through the seasons?
Oh, yeah.
It brought us Coach Elko. It makes me happy. We got Coach Elko.
Y'all didn't sound happy. You sound like we were in therapy reliving, like someone was like, take me through all the times you were hurt.
All the trauma that you got
by Aggie football under Jimbo.
Hey, we do have some trauma.
Yeah, I know. Everybody does.
I might be in the minority. I liked Jimbo.
Oh, I like Jimbo.
I mean, and I'm not talking about personally. I'm saying I think he was a little too stubborn at the end. I think it could have worked. It didn't.
Yeah, it was again, this is college sports. Okay, and it's not a lot of coaches just suck and get fired, and a lot of hires just don't work, and but there are a lot of examples that a lot of different fan bases could tell you, man, that was so close to doing this or so. But the last two, and some might even say the last three with Mike Sherman, but particularly Sumlin and Jimbo, because they got to such a high point. Sherman, it took him until that next to last year, and then the wheels just came off in 2011. But a lot of close games. But Sumlin in year one, and then how close they were, in year two, and there was another year in there where they were really close. But he almost flipped that thing right off the rip. And then the same thing, people talk about Texas' first year in the SEC. A&M's was the same deal. I mean, they were 11-2. Had you had a playoff, they're in it. They're probably the team. They are the team no one would want to play. They did what Texas didn't in that they beat Alabama versus losing twice to Georgia. Texas A&M would have been hell in the college football playoff that year. I mean, who beats them? Maybe a rematch with Bama. That was probably the only team in college football that could have matched up with how they were playing down the stretch. So Sumlin almost got him there. Jimbo, a top 5 finish in 2020. Everybody can go 2020, 2020. I said it a million times. Had they not played a COVID schedule, A&M's probably 11-1 and in the playoff. They're probably 11-1 and playing, rematching Bama for an SEC title. I mean, everybody they played, they beat, and you lost Colorado, Fresno, and North Texas and replaced them with Tennessee and Florida. So had them right there, and then that next season recovered from a couple losses, beat Bama, beat a number 11 Auburn, and you were set to go back to a New Year's Six. You're in a fourth quarter game against Ole Miss, and you forget to give it to A-Chain. You're first and goal to take the lead after being down 13-0. You can't get it in. You go to LSU. You guys talked about that game. Also a game you forgot to give it to A-Chain.
Mm-hmm.
When he was, both those games, he was catching fire there in the fourth quarter and the second half. So you were that close. It didn't work, though. Like I said, there's a lot of it. And the reasons it didn't work really start to manifest themselves for both coaches after that fact. And I've talked to Sumlin about it since, and he's always like, we did a pretty good job there. And he's like, not good enough. You know, we did a pretty good job. And that's I think the best way, you know, and those coaches understand they're not brought in for that amount of money. You know, you pay them to keep them from going to USC. You pay Jimbo to keep them from going to LSU famously. But they're not brought in to do a pretty good job. But like Sumlin's, what he's saying is we were close. We couldn't quite get over the hump. And I'm sure Jimbo can sit there and say the same. And again, there are reasons why. And they're like these like fatal flaws that ultimately, I think with a lot of coaches, they catch up to you before you can get that thing turned. And I think Texas is a pretty unique example, and OU is a pretty unique example.
Yep.
How fast can you outrun your flaws, whether it be like you don't have a foundation where there's a culture enough to sustain it? Is it people questioning, are you style over substance? Is it like in the case of like with Sumlin and them, how long can, you know, Johnny stack wins in the first couple of years, and how well can you replace him or not replace? Whatever it is, you're trying to outrun something early before it catches you. And right, like Sark to me had to outrun that, and it looks like they've gotten over that, around that corner and escaped it. You know, he was close to not. 5-7 was really bad. The next year they were barely above 500. You know, not really good. And then even that next season, they lose that bowl game to Washington, where the score says it was competitive, but it was. It
wasn't.
And then all of a sudden, boom, playoff season, and they're built for the SEC in year one. Brent Venables has kind of been the opposite, and I heard y'all talking. I think he's very much. I mean, there's a lot of coaches this year that could be on that hot seat because they, you know, is DJ Lagway going to allow Billy Napier to kind of stiff arm that and hop over the fence like running from a attack dog in a junkyard? Can you, like, what movie is that with Stand By Me, where the little kids have to climb the fence? Can Napier get over that fence? You know, and it's going to be Lagway that gets him there. And if he doesn't this year, he might be gone. And so Napier, Venables is another one. He needs Mateer. And they got the running back from Cal, and they got a tight end out of the portal, and they got Washington State's OC, and that's what they're hanging everything on. My problem with those two guys versus Elko, when you're looking at like younger, unproven coaches in this league, Elko has a body of work at Duke where it was a short body of work, and he went 8-4 year one in this league. There's really not, if you're looking at Mike Elko, the head coach, There's not much negative there, even if you're like looking for it. That you can't. There's not much negative in his 3 years as a head coach. What he did year 1 at Duke was spectacular. What he did year 2 at Duke was fine. And, by Duke standards, it was still a good season. And then what he did at A&M. Venables has not shown anything as a head coach. And Napier, I guess you could go pull what he did at Louisiana, but at Florida, I mean, they're trying to excite themselves over the same thing in year 3 or whatever it was for Napier that A&M fans are just trying to decide if it was okay that Elko did in year 1.
Yep.
So those two guys, to me, until you prove something good, and it's the same thing with Hugh Freeze. I know he's got a great background, but it's like each step his star has fallen a little bit more, and it's like you're going into year 3, right, at Auburn?
Yes.
It's year 3 at Auburn. It's make or break for him as well. And I'm probably leaving. I mean, obviously, I'm leaving off
Pittman.
Sling and Sammy Pittman. The guy that got ahead of it and got around over that fence was Beamer.
Yeah.
Because they were close to coming for him as well.
All right. As a reminder, the final segment of the program is brought to you by Double Dave's. That's at 10:50. But right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We'll hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls, reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way. That was a good break, Bill. I'm glad we got that.
During the break, Nuño explained to me what goes on at his house from allegedly 4 a.m. until what time do you leave?
This morning it was more like 4:30.
What time do you leave to come up here?
I usually leave here.
You better watch out for that bearded cop on Wellborn. This guy, if he sees you look down, he's pulling you over.
It's Wellborn. Isn't it Wellborn? Not Wellborn.
Wellborn, yeah.
Wellborn. I think he said born.
Did I?
Yeah, I think
Wellborn? Yeah. I don't. That would be with an E on the end.
And that is, I didn't tell you about. Usually,
if there was one L, I would probably say Wellborn.
I also ran this morning.
Barefoot?
No, I didn't run barefoot. No, I haven't grounded this week.
I'm going to ask you something.
Yeah,
I'm serious. Do you really think that works?
No.
Like, you really think
I don't think
walking around barefoot in a College Station neighborhood
I don't think it works.
Grounds you to the earth?
I don't think it does.
Okay.
No,
okay.
but
I do believe there's something to be said for just, and I don't know what it really does, but I know like just walking on a beach.
Yeah. Feels good.
Barefoot in the morning and like the sun and hearing the wind. Like I totally like getting up and walking around in the mountains, or we're going through like a trail. And I wouldn't recommend doing that barefoot, but it like you feel one with the earth, the elements. Going into one of those nice lake, those outdoor water pools or all around like Central Texas, like those things. Yeah, like you feel more like connected. But this thing about this grounding, they say, what am I going to go walk in the backyard and avoid stepping in dog crap
I've done
in the morning?
That. Yeah. Actually,
like that
fertilizes actually.
Yeah, so that really just helps you.
Morning cup of coffee, just looking at the sun and enjoying the earth. Yeah, it helps ground.
No, that's okay. But just I'm talking about specifically the barefoot walking BS.
You should do it.
I won't be doing it.
Yeah.
I will not be
And
doing
I don't
it.
want us to waste a lot of time on this, but how dare you not pick me for a sport? And it was a bit.
Let me ask you this. What sport would you have wanted me to pick you for?
If the options are at this office, all of them, maybe not baseball. Baseball wouldn't pick me at all.
What sport? It wasn't.
It was the big three sports. I listened. I rewound it. I soaked it in.
It was like, who would you pick?
And you wouldn't pick me.
I picked the people that actually played sport.
That's a dumb way to play the
myself.
sport. You're not going to pick yourself.
I left myself out though because I'm like, what did I do? I played high school.
I have
like.
Miranda tried to sell it, and we should have done it. A TexAgs Olympics. Let's find out. Put 20 things to do. I think at least 4 of them I do well.
That's not a college sport, David.
Okay.
Diving is an Olympic sport. We've got a pretty good diver in the office.
He said diving's a good sport.
Yeah, come on, Garcia.
Okay, yeah. I dare you to dive off the
That's
high
fine. That's all we're going to
dare
get
you.
out of this guy.
That's Luke doing his dive thing.
That's the most pitiful dive.
Anyway, it hurt because I would have picked you. I would have picked you for baseball. I would have picked you for football. If I was making a team, I'd be like,
see, I'm not going to hit a baseball anymore. It's going to be.
I'd pick you to throw the football. I've seen your spiral. It's pretty good.
Football.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not a
See,
spiral.
I don't allow, like, even though you come at me, I
didn't do anything.
I still prop you up.
I did not do. I didn't.
You didn't.
I just left you out.
Like you know what I feel like? I feel like MJ. Because
Jordan?
we're very similar, obviously. Who gets mad at okay, I see how it's going to be, and I'm gonna hold this against you this entire offseason. I'm training to prove you wrong.
when you end up winning the local MMA tournament,
I probably won't win that.
Liucci left me off the list. I took that personally.
100% honest, I would lose in an MMA tournament here in town, unless it was only TexAgs employees. Then I would win.
Of which no one here is going to volunteer to grapple with you on the ground in a unitard.
You could wear pants.
What are those things called?
I don't know, tights.
The singlet. No one in here is going to volunteer. Maybe Luke would. He seems like if it's for content, he'd probably do it.
If Billy asks me to do anything, I will do it.
He's got dignity.
All right,
okay, let's move on. We're going a little extra today.
Yeah,
too.
we'll go extra on TexAgs overtime. So we'll do that. Thanks to the Rogue Shop. We'll hit a break here. We'll come back.
Would it surprise you if you knew I failed my driver's test? You're taking
Christian. Cruz got his yesterday. Cruz already drove to work today.
Parallel parking was the bane of my existence there.
I think it's most people still. It's not.
They failed me.
Yeah, You could pick me on the parallel park team. That'd be pretty good.
I'm not. I mean, it's the least masculine statement to make, but I still suck at parallel parking.
Whether you're chasing birds at sunrise, casting lines from the bow, or sweating it out during a scorch at Kyle Field, Duck Camp, our friends there, have your gear from head to toe. They have you looking comfortable. They will take care of you. And with Father's Day, they want you to know they got a lot of cool stuff happening at Duck Camp. So if you're ready for a little discounts, they've got 30% off on the lightweight performance crew. They've got 30% off on the scout shorts, perfect for the lake days, runs, the Little League or tailgate beers. Essential hoodies, 30% off. You've got the lightweight fishing shirt. It is awesome at 30% off as well. So if you're gearing up for summer or just counting the days till kickoff at Kyle Field, this one's for the Aggie dads who show up, get it done, and always have one more story to tell. Hit up duckcamp.com to shop for Father's Day sale before it is gone. And don't wait, Father's Day and Aggie football will be here before you know it. So the folks at Brian Broadcasting are going to be mad, but we have to double up. As a reminder, the final segment of the program is right now. It's brought to you by Double Dave's. We're going to do another giveaway because I got one to make up. We'll hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984. They have your favorite pizza, your favorite world-famous pepperoni rolls, reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way.
Boom.
So we'll do football when we go to overtime, brought to you by the Rogue Shop. So I'm going to ask you the question I asked earlier that Zane said no to. Okay? And I think you might say yes.
Okay.
And we're doing revisionist history today in this therapy session. If Evan Oschenbeck's on that roster, the baseball roster this year, do they make the tournament? Are they hosting a regional? Because I say they would be.
I don't know hosting a regional. That would be a deeper dive, but yeah, I think they're in the tournament because I think they blew some late leads early in the season to far lesser teams.
In Missouri.
And by the way, well, I was saying early in the season.
Sorry.
I was going to do SEC separate, but one in particular being to Arizona, where it took a pretty significant meltdown to lose that game to a team that's now in Omaha. So. And then there were lesser teams. I think New Mexico State. There was maybe it was I think it was the one loss to Cal Poly that was a regional team. So you'd have won a handful of more games in that non-conference. That was so bad, and it would have looked far less bad and far less damaging. And then you go and you look in season, and it was he's on the. I mean, this is crazy, like we're saying, but. He's on the mound in that first game against Missouri. How much does that change your mindset the rest of the season? Those early conference games, I think
Kentucky.
I think two of them against Alabama.
Yeah.
I think it was two of them against Bama. Remember, this is a guy they would have no problem with bringing in if they had to in the 6th, 7th inning of a game too. So you're even factoring that in, but just mainly looking at the blown saves. I mean, my God, you lose 3 one-run games to Texas. Do you get one of those? I mean, I'm trying to not get carried away here. Do you get one of those? So, yeah, because it was such a fine line, you have plenty of instances where you could say with him, of course. I mean, you could do that in a lot of sports with any one player.
Sure,
but
yeah.
Because of the circumstance and because there was a case to be made that he could have been back. There's a case to be made in hindsight that he should have been back. So, yeah, I mean, when you do that, but then how about you just don't say Oschenbeck and you make that Stewie?
Josh Stewart doesn't get hurt, yeah.
Yeah, how about you do that instead? He doesn't, mess up his knee in his first inning of the season after what he had done in Omaha the year before and the confidence off of that. No one was even saying it had to be the best reliever in college baseball, which is what Evan Oschenbeck was. I think what you expected Stewie to be would have done the exact same thing.
Oh, the what ifs. Do we have time for the production value that Billy asked for? We do. Apparently, you've asked.
Apparently,
for
they
this.
said this is. What'd you say? This was Nuño.
Complaining about not being selected was similar to this
It's a good
Isaiah
poll.
Thomas clip.
It's a very good poll.
What went into that process? I met the criteria to be selected, but I wasn't. I don't know what went into.
So if I'm the Isaiah Thomas of that dream team,
Tom Jordan,
you're Scottie
I'll take
Pippen.
it.
You're Scottie Pippen.
No, I thought
Scottie
Jordan
quit. No,
kept him
you're
off.
not. You're not Jordan.
But I thought Jordan's the one who kept him off.
He did. But
So I'm Michael
no,
Jordan.
actually, it was Jerry
Too late.
Reinsdorf.
You walked your way. I'm not Reinsdorf.
No, you're Scottie Pippen.
I feel like Reinsdorf.
Thanks so much for watching The Rogue Shop coming up. Or The Rogue Shop. Overtime. Brought to you by The Rogue Shop. Next on TexAgs.com. Go now.